Hello everybody and welcome to Le Mans in the first endurance round of Season 5 in the OGRL Coffee Cup here this season. We come to Le Mans for the first and only time of course, for the first of two endurance rounds. Towards the end of March, when we're ending our season entirely, by the way, we'll be at the Nürburgring combined layout for another endurance race. We have ended seasons there in the past and we will do again in 6 weeks' time. But tonight it's Le Mans. And that means the end of a section in this season, and it means on that front we've got an awful lot to talk about. It is myself, Ian O'Leary, and Tristan Herbst in commentary for you today, with Jim Cunningham behind the cameras on Motormouth Broadcasting this afternoon. Good to be alongside you, Tristan, for OGRL. Didn't know this before we came live, but you just said before we ended the countdown there that you'd never done a broadcast at Le Mans before. So welcome. First of all, it's one of my favourite racetracks to watch as far as a race is concerned. I'm personally not sold on it in driving, but Jim gave me an earful for that last week because he quite likes it, and I'm sure that many of you watching this may disagree with me on that front at least. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a voyage of discovery in that sense. But no, one of the famous racetracks in all of motorsport, and a great place to get to the halfway point in the OGRL season.
Yeah, absolutely so. I mean, you described it perfectly. Don't actually have much experience here in all, even in terms of racing, as I do sim racing myself. Actually haven't had much track time here at De La Sarthe, but I've seen a couple of the guys race around it, and as you mentioned, it is a pinnacle in endurance motorsport. It obviously categorized the entire Le Mans category, and the 24-hour Le Mans obviously takes place here as one of the most pinnacle endurance racing events on the WC calendar. And so it's at least a privilege we get to see it yet tonight at the Coffee Cup League presented by OGRL. And actually cannot wait to do what the drivers can do here at the 8.4-mile circuit.
Absolutely, it's going to be very, very exciting to watch. That is for sure. Qualifying is just underway, by the way. We're not going to have a warm-up session today because the qualifying sessions are going to take quite a long time, and that in itself has been extended to 20 minutes. So everybody is out there apart from Danny O'Brien, Julian Race, Bradley Lovings, obviously, and Adrian Rich, who is not out there yet either. Apart from that, everybody is out on the racetrack because it's going to take them quite a long time to get their laps in, including the out lap and then the 3 qualifying laps, which they're limited to in this series, don't forget. That's going to take them nearly 16 minutes. There wouldn't have been time for it, indeed, in the 15-minute sessions that we normally see. So, as I say, it's been extended to 20 just for this round. We'll do something different again, I would imagine, for the Nürburgring combined layout, because we did last time. From memory, we did like an hour qualifying session or so, and we didn't broadcast it, but we'll see what happens this season, because that was quite a long time ago. Before we get to qualifying, though, let's have a look at the championship standings, you'll notice that the drop rounds have been applied, or at least the drop round for the first section. So in OGRL, there's a drop round for the first half of the season and another drop round for the second half. And this has changed the standings dramatically compared to where we saw it when we left you last week. 11 points for Ryan Merriam in front of Aaron Gearing after Merriam's win last week. He's finished in the top 2 in the last 4 weeks in a row. Aaron Gearing second, as I say, although he's on a streak of podiums at 2 right now as well. David Van Roy is in third place after finishing 4th last week, and then it's Cook who rounds off 4th place, and Bradley Tidwell who rounds out the top 5. Jeremy Cheney's moved right up because of that drop week and that no-show race 4. Same for Ryan Faluna, who wasn't here for round 2, and that's why he's now back into the game, if you like. 7th place for him. Then Tim Probert, Smalley and Fack round out the field. All over 200 points. It does get a lot closer when you apply those drop points. And in fact, Merriam is only 49 points in front of the driver in 10th. That just shows you how close this season is, and is going to remain, because we don't have a necessarily dominant driver, although Ryan Merriam is trying to become exactly that at the moment. In Pro-Am, it's even closer, with the top 3 covered by only 11 points. Top 5 covered by 15 points is probably the better way to explain it. Quentin Price leading by just 2 over Will Bailey, who he beat in last week's race. But the last week's winner, Heath Ollinger, is up to 5th place. Consistent races across the board from Ollinger so far, all inside the top 15, I think. or certainly top 25 or so, which is not bad for a prime driver. In front of him, though, Williams and Pastor in third and fourth. Then you've got that bit of a jump back from Ollinger in fifth. Cody Bont is in sixth place in front of Brian Dukowski. Both of those two have missed rounds so far. Peno Hanno is next to Adam Hansen, and Brian Lewalski rounding out the top 10 in Pro-Am. In the Am standings, without the drop week applied, it was quite a dominant show from Curtis Matthews, and it's a little bit closer when you apply the drop round, but not too much. 18 points his gap, the biggest in the field. JT Sawyer is in second ahead of John Gardner, with Williams a little bit further back there in fourth place. Brian Hoskins rounding out the top 5. Cameron Risley next, Julian Race, then Snabel, Soames and Bourne, who round out at the top 10. Bourne didn't message me about me pronouncing his name wrong, so I suppose I'm going to carry on as I am. But there we go. There's the AM standings as well. Let's have a look at where we're racing here this afternoon then, shall we? In the latest round of the OGRL Coffee Cup here this season, in Season 5. We come to the historic Le Mans circuit, indeed, as you say, Tristan, where the 24 Hours of Le Mans is takes place every year, one of the most famous races in all of motorsport. There it is, central France, dead centre of France, really. Very, very flat round here, as you'll notice by the absolute lack of elevation change at this venue. Quite a remote area of France as well, actually. You'll notice from that aerial shot there, there's there's a town obviously nearby, but not too much else, to be honest. There it is, the public road on the left-hand side, making up the Mulsanne Straight, which we'll talk about in a moment. But this track map giving 27 turns. There's pretty much every track map you've ever seen giving a different number. That we'll go with 27. This is the first sector through the sort of Tête Rouge S's and then Tête Rouge itself, turn 8. Probably, perhaps, the most important corner on this racetrack, not least because it's fast and committed to the right-hand side, but it is also the run that you get. It marks the run that you get all the way down the Mulsanne Straight, and there it is from turn 8 to turn 15, with 2 chicanes splitting up. No longer do we go all the way down the straight with that kink on the way down. We do, thankfully, I think, in some ways, have chicanes. Big overtaking chances, those chicanes, in towards turn 9 and turn 12. It's where you're likely to see some of the passes, or indeed the patience. Mulsanne corner there down the bottom of the screen, turn 15, before you come in towards Indianapolis and Arnage. Very fast corner, Indianapolis. Get on the brakes for in time for turn 17. Then the Porsche curves, which are absolutely brilliantly committed in a higher downforce car. GT3s, I think it's a little bit more annoying, but it's still a pretty committed and exciting few cut turns, and then the Ford chicanes to round out the lap and bring you to the end of another lap and the start of the next one, as so many have already done in this qualifying session. Hayden Young is currently on the pole with a 3 minutes 57.6, 3 tenths only in front of Alexander Claudio and Ryan Merriam. It just shows the closeness of this field here, Tristan, because it is just 3 tenths of a second, despite this circuit being at least twice as long as any other, apart from Nürburgring, that we're going to go to.
Yeah, absolutely so. And the biggest thing we actually mentioned as well is obviously the lap time it's going to be taking to get, obviously those lap times in. But here's a bit of your overall view of the Old Guy Racing League and all that they've got to offer. Right now, we're at the Sunday, all the way at the bottom, GT3 Coffee Cup, which is currently at Circuit de la Sarthe. But on Mondays, we've also got the rookie-like road course in the Mazda MX-5s. We've then got the ARCA Championship on Tuesdays. Wednesday, we go to Hometown Short Track, followed by Thursday, the Thursday Thunder Trucks. Friday and Saturday, a bit of a break there for the Old Guy Racing Leagues. And that is your overall view there of the Old Guy Racing Leagues and all that they got to offer. The Discord is in the bottom right-hand side, a really easy reference to follow as well. There's no weird codes that follow after discord.gg. It is simply OGRL, so there's no excuses for you not to join and get in on the fun. We hope to see your name in the GT3 Coffee Cup next week, after having a bit of a look into Old Guy Racing League. But indeed, qualifying is at about our halfway through, just about over 10 minutes through. And the drivers have only completed about 1 or 2 laps. Obviously, we mentioned we've got quite a long lap stint going over here. Fastest lap time, currently Tim Probert, 3 minutes and 56 around the circuit as of now. Aaron Gearing will sit second position, followed with a 3:57.2. And there's your stack timings tower. It is a combined session with all your GT3 classes, as it has been for the past 5 rounds of the season. We obviously have the pro drivers who lead this currently, but then Quinton Price down in 8th position, and he also leads for his class. And all the way down, John Gardner, he currently leads in 20th for his class And so that is currently the split between the three classes. John Gardner currently with a 4 minute and 3 seconds. And so that's quite a good 8 or so second gap off of the pace from Probert up in front in his McLaren. He seems to be finding the pace out here today. Currently on board with Ryan Merriam, the leader currently in the GT3 Pro class. He goes second with a 356.2. So 2:10 slow off the pace from Probert. He still seems more comfortable in that McLaren. And with the longer straights, you'll want to abuse the top speed on that Mulsanne back straight to try and capture all the top speed that you possibly can. But the Porsche curves will also be a great spot for those mid-engine cars to get their rotations in, as well as going towards those the Ford chicanes. So great stuff all around, though, and still a good while left before this qualifying session is over.
Hayden Young was on the pole earlier, but seemingly is not ending his final lap at the moment. I'm not sure what's going on with some people who seem to be getting stuck on our timing screen at certain points in the racetrack, but anyway, maybe he's just in pit lane, Hayden Young, at the moment, and it's not showing up. Lots of drivers, though, coming towards the end of a lap in a moment. Jonathan Williams will be one of them, from 9th place in the Pro-Am class. And here he is in the Mustang. Can he take Pro-Am pole? Because there's less than a tenth of a second between himself and Kenton Price now into the Ford chicanes, I mean.
Porsche.
Yeah, Porsche curves or Ford chicanes. I'm trying to do both at once. Out over the start-finish line for Williams. Does he take that tenth of a second? You'd think so. The question is whether... Yes, he does. You'd think the question is whether Kenton Price can respond or not, and I think the answer to that is he can't. He seems to... Again, he's not showing up as in the pit lane, but as far as I can see, he is. So, I don't know. Figure that one out for yourself. Williams, though, should take the pole for Pro-Am. Also coming towards the end of a lap, Aaron Gearing from 3rd place, as lots of times at once. Sean Riley up to 3rd place, Claudio up to 4th, and Stefan Bauer up to 6th place. So what can Aaron Gearing do, as he's been bumped down a couple of positions here? He's going to go over the line in a moment. Oh, look at that, flying through these final chicanes at the end of the lap. Not too many, well, no purple sectors, but a couple of personal bests, and that should be... no, it's not no, it is an improvement, rather. He goes up to 3rd place. It's not pole by any means. He's nowhere near Probert or Merriam, but it is an improvement to 3rd. Curtis Matthews, meantime, has jumped up into 9th place. That's the best time currently from an AM driver. 9th, very, very good performance indeed. Coming in towards the end of another lap, though, as well. Not only Brad Tidwell, who is ending his session, but also Ryan Merriam, who is on his final lap in the number 1 car, the Aston Martin, and he is going at the moment. Tim Probert is out there on the racetrack, despite the fact he looks stuck on the timing. He isn't, clearly. Although, oh no, there he is. What is happening here? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway... there's a lot of purple sectors there on his final lap. He's not going to complete it, though, because he's clearly stopped on the side of the racetrack. Anyway, Merriam isn't stopped. He's carrying on, and we'll see whether this is enough to actually take the pole position away. He only needs to find 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, this is a bit of an odd one. I've seen it now for 3 drivers stuck on the 2.94 distance of a lap. We've seen it now for Tim Probert. Hayden Young is also there. Quentin Price is also there. So something seems to be going on in terms of the live timings. The likes of John Schneebel also down, Mitchell Williams, they're all on 2.94. So something odd is going around here, around Le Mans, and a bit odd because Tim Probert, as we can see on the bottom there, he's got 4 sectors that are currently purple, but that's obviously not going to finish the lap. He's already at 5 minutes and 31 seconds. So not too sure if there's some form of connection issue, if maybe he is just sitting on the side of the track. There's one of the Audi drivers, and Jim will know in the background that it is by far the most biased car in terms of my opinion. It's my favorite car out on track, and let's see what Bradley Lovings can do. He's currently out on his flying lap, out on an out lap and flying lap, sorry, and he's just coming across the line now. It says 3:17 on the final sector, 3:55.7, and doesn't look like there was an improvement. I don't think that was a valid lap, as we haven't seen him shift up from he's currently on an unknown position, which represents that, so he had an off track and reset. So still no time on the board there for the likes of the Audi driver, Bradley Lovings. But Ryan Merriam has jumped up to 1st place, 3 minutes 55.7. He only needed that 0.2 difference. And obviously Tim Probert is definitely not finishing this lap off. So not too sure what's going on there. Not too sure if it's an issue, but we'll have to just wait and see. But about 4 minutes left of this qualifying session. I've got to say, from Curtis Matthews, 9th position in his class, But if you have to talk about the gap from himself all the way to second in the AM category, I mean, it's 9th compared to 24th. I don't know if he's in the wrong division, but he's doing pretty well at Le Mans currently.
Well, yeah, Merriam is looking like he's going to take the pole then. I thought he might, but there you go. He's taken pole surely now. Not too many other times to come in. Julian Reyes is not finished yet from 27th in the AM class, but he's pretty much the only one out there at the moment. I think the reason why they're all at 2.94 at the moment is because they are they're starting their outlaps from there, if you like, because they don't have to do the whole outlap. This is Michael Dion, he's miles back, but Julian Reyes is coming up towards the line in a second here to perhaps take second place in AM. It'd be be a very big switch if he could take it away from Curtis Matthews at the very front of the field, but not sure he's going to manage that. In fact, he's not going to manage an improvement at all, is he? No, not quite. A 4:04.5 is only 2% slower than before. But nevertheless, it is not an improvement. This is Michael Dion coming up towards the end of the lap. Only his first lap of the session, so this will be his only chance. There's only 2.5 minutes to go. I'm not sure what he's been doing for the rest of the session, but he's only getting out here very late on to get a lap in, and we'll probably be starting somewhere towards the back. Bradley Lovings is carrying on here as well, but we've already seen him off the racetrack on this lap, and he's not going to have time for another one either. So looks like the session very shortly is going to be pretty much over here, and Ryan Merriam has definitely taken the pole.
Yeah, it's great stuff from the championship leader of the pro class to top it off in pro. And obviously in the mid part of the section of the session, we didn't really know if he was going to be landing up there, as Probert was nailing those lap times up in second. But Robert has also returned to pit lane, so thinking that he might be starting one more flying lap before the end of it. Doesn't seem like it might be happening as he's returned the car. And Quinton Price still 11th. Michael Dion also comes across the line, and unfortunately it's 32nd place at the end of this lap. And I see what you mean now about the 0.94. That's where indeed they start the lap, is towards the backside, and that's kind of just sitting there before they return to pit lane. There we also have Bradley Lovings. Is he trying to maybe go out again? I don't think he's got the time to do it. Currently on board, though, with Adrian Rich. And also no lap time out on the board right now for Adrian Rich. So not sure if he's going to try and go out for one more. Here he goes. And he will come across the checkered flag in time to start another lap as he comes through the Porsche curves now. And it's very slow there.
But the time runs out, and that's just it. So he's not going to carry on. Otherwise, we'll be here forever at Le Mans. So the session ends in a minute. Nobody's getting to the end of their lap from here. I can't see anybody still lapping around other than Adrian Rich. So that'll be it. A massive amount of drivers who haven't set times, by the way. It's well, I'm not going to count them all right now, but when we go through the grid, I'll point them out. It's a massive number though. It only looks like we've got 34 in the field based on the amount that have got times, but don't worry about that. We do have more, but all of them. The reason why I pointed out, all of them had at least 2 full laps there. Now, including Adrian Rich, who gets towards the end of his second. Had 2 full laps to get a lap in, but actually couldn't do it, which shows they must have got an off track somewhere.
Yeah, it seems like rather difficult circumstances for the drivers here to get those lap times down. And I definitely agree with you. Quite a large number that we're seeing here today that have not been able to get across that checkered flag with a valid lap time. So the Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans, proving itself a little bit difficult in the GT3 class for them to get those lap times in. We'll get your standings there for qualifying, or we'll go straight into the grid. But that is officially it for the qualifying session, 20 minutes down and an hour and a half to go now of racing around the long circuit.
Yep, indeed it will be. They'll grid up on the back straight. Well, say back straight, it's not really the back straight, is it? It's the straight between Arnage and the Porsche curves. And we will be underway very shortly with our formation lap or few corners. Brian Merriam has taken the pole then here for the OGRL Coffee Cup from Le Mans in front of Tim Probert, who is alongside in the McLaren. 5 different manufacturers in the top 5, by the way. Aaron Gearing and Sean Riley will share row 2. Different manufacturers, and the final one, Alexander Claudio, who is in 5th place. Then you get Stefan Bauer, who managed to get up to 6th place, perhaps surprisingly ahead of Hayden Young, who's in 7th. Jeremy Cheney will be sharing row 4 with him. And then the big surprise of the session, Curtis Matthews, with a brilliant lap to take Am pole with 9th place. Jonathan Williams takes Pro-Am pole with 10th, which is well, unusual to say the least, to see them that way around. Quentin Price just missed out on that pole as Williams snuck past him towards the end there. Brent Cook rounding off row 6. And 13th place to Stephen Smalley, with Alan Purser now in the Mustang in 14th position. Heath Ollinger starts from 15th out of Bradley Tidwell. Then the first all Pro-Am row, actually, with Raul Pastor and Will Bailey on row 9. Will Bailey, of course, second place in the Pro-Am points at the moment. Preston Halfway and Sebastian Fack round out the top 20. With 21st, Devin Horton, who's just come into YouTube chat to tell us that he's done no practice here for this race. Ken Clodden is in 22nd place for this one. Then it's Micah Dixon. John Gardner's second in the AM class. That's just one of a gap that Curtis Matthews has got ahead of this race. Brian Dukowski is next ahead of Mitchell Williams in 26th. Then the first of the all AM rows, Julian Race and Robert Sackett, with Hayesbourne and Nico Tessini rounding out the top 30. John Snabel and Michael Dion are next, and I think Dion was the first to not set a time, or maybe, sorry, no, we've got a few more. Brian Hoskins and Bobby Lewalski were the last ones to set time, sorry. Then you get to those who didn't. Bradley Lovings and Cody Bont, who are going to be 35th and 36th. Then JT Sawyer and Yella Sons. That's two strong AM drivers who are going to be starting quite a long way back. Scott Carlson and Adrian Rich, who round out the top 40. Cameron Risley, Danny O'Brien and David Stoops round out the field of 43. As I mentioned, what's that? 10 of them, or 9 of them, sorry, at the back end, not setting times, despite the fact all of them had at least 2 laps worth of attempts to actually do it here. Track conditions here for this race: 96, 97 degrees Fahrenheit on the racetrack. Just look quite dark out there at the moment, I must say. I wonder whether we are going to be running into the darkness here, as we sometimes do at these longer races of the season. But we'll wait and see on that front. And there has been an adjustment, by the way, since the last round of this championship to some of the rules around race starts and pace laps and stuff. So we'll see whether that actually leads to a different start of the race. I suspect not, if I were to guess. I think everybody will still take it very calmly, as they're instructed to do, through the opening corners of the race. Not that it really prevented a smash up at the top of the hill at Watkins Glen last week, but not many things can prevent that, I don't think, short of not going there. So I think it will be much the same here for this round, as in clean start as we normally see in the OGRL Coffee Cup. I would imagine that's what we're going to get here tonight. But let's wait and see, as the pace car will pull in now. Just before that final Ford chicane, Ryan Merriam's going to go immediately here if he's got any sense about him, and he does indeed. The green flag waves here from Le Mans. 90 minutes of racing in the OGRL Coffee Cup gets underway, and you can see them in the background battling even through the Ford chicanes at the back end of the lap there. The thing about the front straight here is that it really stretches the field out as they run down in towards turn 1 for the first time, into the chicane and under the Dunlop Bridge for the first time. It's a very spread out field, but as I say, at Le Mans it gets very spread out right from the very beginning because of those final corners and that front straight. It sort of helps us keep it clean through the first chicane.
Yeah, there's already a Mustang who's lost his bumper, and we saw it spinning around there on the start-finish straight. So there's already a couple of loose debris, and we haven't even reached the 10% marker of the first lap, and that's unfortunate to see. But as you did prove, that final Ford chicane launching onto the main straight does prove to be a bit difficult for the drivers to all follow in suite. But here we have Ryan Merriam, and obviously being up in front, he gets to choose the pace in which he deploys that car, and he's been able to do that quite swiftly. Stephen Smalley a little bit further behind. He's now in a massive battle with Brent Cook as they go side by side on that Mulsanne straight, and we'll have to see who's going to come out on top. The Porsche will have the slowest top speed. Here comes the McLaren a little bit further behind. He is slowly starting to drop off in terms of speed there, in terms of the Mr. Sparkle team there of that Porsche. And Stephen Bauer a little bit further up in 7th in his pink or purple Mercedes. Can't really see too well with the light. It does indeed look pink. And he's got Jeremy Cheney just a bit further behind. You can see the cars as they go past the tire barrier chicane. It's a bit of a divider. A couple of the drivers before they meet the chicane, and then all the drivers that come after the chicane. Horvaton's also gotten a yellow slowdown already. And there we see a little bit of sun, at least, Ewan. It's starting to shine upon these cars, and hopefully the headlights won't be needed as much. And we already have the first pit stop. And it seems like one of the drivers already coming in, the 43rd car, and that's Julian Reyes down in 43rd, as we just mentioned. And he's already come into the pit lane, possibly due to some damage that he sustained during lap number 1. It's almost 3 wide coming into the second Mulsanne chicane, and Brian Dukowski having to kind of lean out compared to that Mustang, just trying to avoid contact on the front of his Corvette. He'll now be down in this 3-way battle, continuing onto that Mulsanne corner at the top of the back straight. And all the cars relatively following in suite, but exactly like we speak about, the differentiation in terms of gap all across the circuit is that you're going to get these small battles between a couple of GTs, but the gap is going to build tremendously between main groups. We're going to have a couple of segregated trains of cars here in today's 1 hour and 30-minute race.
Well, we certainly are. And the leaders would have hoped to stay with Ryan Merriam at the front, but Probert, I think, maybe had a slowdown out of Tete Rouge. He certainly had a bad run out of Tete Rouge coming onto the Mulsanne straight that first time round. So that has allowed Merriam to get a second out front. These three, Probert, Riley and Gearing, in my mind, have got to work together, because if they let Ryan Merriam out front by at least a second or more here, they're not going to see him again in this race. And so they've got to bring him back into the slipstream while they still can.
Yeah, let's hope that they can in the next couple of laps, because the actual lap time will be a lot less than a normal lap. We're doing about double stint of what a normal Spa lap would look like. It's about 4 minutes average lap time here. And like you mentioned, Riley, Gearing and Probert do have to work together here if they want to try and keep up with Merriam. Try and give themselves a little bit of slingshots there with the slipstream possibly, and keep that pack going up like you would see in NASCAR style. A little bit further behind, though, Quinton Price currently sitting in the position he started in, and that beautifully decorated Porsche 992. He chases onto the backside of the the AMB leader of Curtis Matthews, as he sits in his Acura up in 8th position. Let's see what they can do, though, as they continue going around. He leads that 8-way battle, but obviously Williams and Young are just a little bit further in front. Young in that McLaren and Williams in the Ford, as they now come through the Ford chicanes to round off the final corners of the first lap. And there we can see that front bumper that we saw at the start of this race that was lying on the floor is indeed the Ford Mustang of Williams, and he's completely lost there. Yeah. Let's hope it doesn't affect his aero package too much, though.
That's Dickerson in the Mustang there, who's lost his front bumper. But he's, as you say, it's not affecting him too much because he's carrying on. So not sure what that's all about. Michael Dion's still got a slowdown to serve here, and so is Aaron Gearing actually out front, and he's doing that now, but Dion just isn't. And he picked that up, I think, through the final corner of the Porsche curves there. Now he gets rid of it, so it must have been very, very small. Oh dear, more damage. More damage just as we cut away there. There was definitely contact happening from a couple of guys just up in front of Dickerson, who we know is already missing his front bumper. Now, is it John Gardner who's missing the front? I don't think they're actually long-term damage. It seems like a bit of that netcode damage where it looks like a bodywork's falling off and then it isn't. But anyway, that's through the first chicane. Just a little bit of contact, and now they come into the Mulsanne straight again. This is a proper group, and that slow there is Horvatin, Damien Horvatin, slow coming onto the Mulsanne straight. So, and that might be what all that smoke was about. As he maybe had some trouble through Tete Rouge there coming onto the Mulsanne straight.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got a bit of suspension damage. His turning is looking slightly odd, and we can see a bit of damage on the backside of that Ford Mustang. So I'm wondering if he gave himself a bit of a self-incident hit against the wall. You can see that back right brake, that brake light is looking slightly different to the right one. So not too sure what happened there to Damien Horvatin, but he does look like he's struggling slightly in that Mustang, going side by side now, though, with Lovings trying to fight on that Mulsanne straight. And we've just gone past the first chicane now. As they continue to go on, let's see if he does struggle a bit more. We'll have to watch if he drops off in pace, but it is currently a three-way battle, and this is currently on board Preston Hathaway. He's trying to keep in between the fighting here with Pasta and Bailey as they come through the second chicane now of the Mulsanne straight, and the Ford Mustang going slightly wider over the curbs. He's going to have a bit of an advantage here in terms of the straight, but hopefully the drivers can all keep within each other with that slipstream. A lot of yellow flag penalties are being handed out, though, on the live timings tower, and it is indeed proving that those lap times were getting removed in qualifying due to track limits, as we're seeing it pretty evidently here in today's racing. All those yellow flags are from those track limits being avoided. But here's Tessassini, I believe, Nico Tessassini, and just losing the rear of his Lambo Evo 2 and into the gravel trap he will go. Thankfully, no wall damage for him, and he can continue racing onto the next lap.
It's a classic spin, really, for the Ford chicanes there. Cheney and Bauer, meantime, will get into line as well, in towards Indianapolis. Tim Probert has been the only one to actually catch Ryan Merriam at the front of the field. We saw Kieran get slowdown penalty, so he's actually behind Alexander Claudio now, but Sean Riley is also just a few seconds off the back, so it is 2 for the lead straight away here. And speaking of leaders, Matthews and Williams, by the way, the other class leaders, are fighting amongst themselves here as well. As we look through this long shot, they're actually side by side. But what a drive so far from Curtis Matthews. I mean, a brilliant qualifying lap. I can't see him well, maybe he will finish in the top 10, to be honest. If he has a clean race, he's got all the best chance, I suppose. But this is a remarkable performance from an AM driver. In case you've not seen this series before, this is unusual, let's say, for an AM driver to be all the way up here. At the end of a brilliant race last week, Curtis Matthews managed to get himself up to 14th place. Well, he's just qualified 5 places above that. That's how extraordinary the performance has been from Curtis Matthews. And yeah, he is in a very comfortable position. John Gardner's down in 21st, second in the AM class. So Matthews just nursing that big lead now. There's no point in him taking any risks in these early laps.
Yeah, even with regards to the fighting that goes on around him, that Acura can stay planted as best as it can all the way down to 21st position, because that's his only fight that will be leading up towards the end of this race. And if he continues on the pace that he is now, I don't think he's actually going to be fighting at all this race, due to just a great qualifying stint. And as we mentioned, the dispersion that happens here at Circuit de la Sarthe is indeed too great for somebody to catch up from so far back. So Curtis Matthews has just got to keep his head screwed on for the BWE Racing team. And again, repping that Blue Angels livery. What a great parody there from the real life F16 and F18 showdowns that go on. But he has Bradley Lovings down in 26 still. 9 positions up since the start of this race. And remember, Bradley didn't get a qualifying lap in. He was just struggling out on the track, but he's currently up in 26 now, chasing onto the backside of Damian Horverton, who we did have see a little bit of damage earlier on. So I wonder if that's affecting him. Brian Dukowski also going a little bit slow there through the Dunlop Bridge and loses out as well, I believe, from 30th to Mitchell Williams. And they'll continue to go around track. Side by side, though, Preston Hathaway. And he now goes side by side again with, I believe, Will Bailey, trying to go down towards that first chicane. Who's going to make it? It's the last of the late breakers here. The Ford Mustang on the inside line of Preston Hathaway from BWE. But the Ford does indeed pull behind. And he'll have to tuck in before the first chicane.
Yeah, indeed. Probably best to get into single file here early. Meantime, barreling down the inside is Cody Bont on Bradley Lovings. Yeah, this is going to be both of these two, to be honest, should be working their way through the field and are at the moment. Lovings up 8, Bont up 10, and just behind them, Yellow Suns is coming with them as well. Although he's an AM driver, he's up 10 places as well. So I think these are the kind of guys to watch, really, over the course of this race, because they're going to be ones moving up through the field. Michael Dion is also doing it, and he's doing it actually even better. He's up to 21st so far in this race. But yeah, these are the kind of guys to watch, and these are the kind of guys that, when things thin out a little bit later and we're reduced to the small battles in the last half an hour, those are the guys who are still going to be moving up positions very late on here, as long as they avoid slowdowns. Loving's just got one there through the first chicane. Let's have a look at Julian Race, who goes just a bit deep into the pit lane for the first time. It's not the easiest pit lane in the world to get onto. That is a very tight chicane.
Yeah, tight chicane indeed, and it looks like he's at least been able to manage it. Mitchell Williams, though, he seems to also have a bit of an incident there in his Williams Motorsports car, and that Corvette is producing a little bit of smoke from the backhand side. Wonder if he's managed to tag the wall there coming into that right-hander, and we'll try and have a bit of a look at a different angle. Oh, loses the rear on the curbs and decides to front face the car into the wall, unfortunately. It's a good save, though, to prevent further damage, but that will be a little bit of a limp on the front side of that Corvette. He's going to have to watch out for that one. There we again see Dickinson. He's obviously missing the entire front side of his Mustang, but definitely seems to be managing it. He's not struggling too much in terms of car control, possibly a bit of speed in terms of the cornering, but other than that, he seems to be managing pretty well. Ryan Merriam still up in first, 1 second of a gap. He has been extending that from Probert. It was about 5/10 in the lap before, but he's now extended it to 1 second, so doing a great job from the Aeronaut Racing team, and let's hope he can continue his stride coming into the next couple of laps.
Yeah, indeed. So we come through the final corners with Gearing and Claudio now. Alexander Claudio has been having a good season so far. To be fair, I think he's really stepped up, although he hasn't quite had the results to show for it. At times he's been running in this kind of position, semi-often this season. Into the final Ford chicane now, and out onto the start-finish line again. I don't know if Jim can show us whether we're in the early morning or late evening, but the shadows are very long already, and considering this is an hour-and-a-half race, if we're anywhere towards the evening here, then it's going to get dark, I think. There you go. Oh yeah, it's 9 o'clock in June, so this is going to be a dark race by the end of the day, because it's going to be 10:30 or so by the time we finish the race. When we initially, I think it was in qualifying, the track temperature was nearly 110 Fahrenheit. It's down to 73 now, so conditions very much cooling off. 75, sorry. Conditions very much cooling off, but. The classic problem in summer of the sun being in your eyes late in the evening is going to be a real factor here, just especially as you're on the way back towards the start-finish line at Le Mans. It is very much a problem getting the sun in your eyes. Meantime, Probert has caught Merriam for the lead, and he has no interest in passing him yet. He's going to fuel save.
Yeah, I wonder what happened here with Ryan Merriam. Like you mentioned, possibly a fuel save there, but that lap time dropped drastically from 1 second down to 0.09 on the Mulsanne straight over there. So it looks like there definitely is a fight on here for first position, and we'll have to keep on watching. But Riley, unfortunately, down in 30s, well out of this battle for the time being, 8 seconds of a gap, and you can see his BMW just joins the straight there at the backside, and he's got quite a train following him of Gearing, Claudio, Cheney, and Bauer. But for the time being, the battle for the lead is definitely on. Merriam, Probert are right behind each other, but will Probert just try and stay in that slip? Indeed he is, and going for a bit of the fuel save to just try and keep up with the race leader. No point in trying to make any drastic decisions this early on in the race, and looks like he'll just be following like father, like son, or like the good old saying of Simon Says. He's just kind of following Merriam's lines here, and just waiting to see what he can do in the next couple span of the laps. Yes, Ken Cloden a little bit further down, 21st, but one position up, and he's fighting it down with Michael Dion, who's just gotten past him on the back straight, and he's flying. He's about to go past one of the Ferraris as well. Side by side he goes, and ahead he is into the right-hander, I believe, of the second or first chicane. Not entirely sure. Second chicane it is indeed of the Mulsanne straight, and 2 positions up in one straight. Great moves there from Michael Dion.
Yeah, Pastor there had a slowdown at the first chicane, and that affected his run into the second. Stefan Bauer now has a slowdown as well, further up front in the field on the way towards Indianapolis. So Hayden Young is going to close in. Meantime, Probert's going to try and get the lead here from Merriam, and Gearing trying to get third from Riley. It's all happening at the moment. Probert up to the lead, though. I thought he was going to fuel save for some time there, but he decides to go for the lead. Gearing, meantime, has caught Riley. He's gone through. Claudio's been brought into this as well. And so it's all happening now, all changes happening inside these first 15 minutes, although they shouldn't even be halfway into their first stint of the race. We are expecting 2 pit stops in the day, but even 2 pit stops, you've got to make it more than half an hour in this race. So don't expect to see anything just yet as far as pit activity is concerned.
Yeah, we have Ken Cloden again. He's still trying to fight back now with Raul Pastor, who's obviously lost out to Michael Dion. And we'll see if he can possibly do something here after the double overtake there from Dion. Possibly the yellow Corvette trying to find a bit of lap distance there, spread his wings out possibly and get ahead of the Ferrari up in front. Only time is going to tell. But for the rest of the drivers, it's looking pretty clean in terms of the racing. Unfortunately, with endurance racing, and particularly here at Le Mans, it is going to start to slow down a bit as the drivers continue to extend those gaps. And you can see it on the left side of your timings tower, how many of those white number figures you're starting to see. And the white number figures obviously representing over a second of distance. Yellow will obviously represent 0.5 to 1 second, and then your orange will represent anywhere from 0.5 and below to the driver up in front. And so those white figures will begin to present themselves slightly more as the evening racing goes on here. The drivers will begin to fuel save, like we've been saying. They do need to make it to the end of this 1.5 hour race, and the only way to do that is by saving the fuel so that the stints don't seem too aggressive and you don't have to take an additional pit towards the end. But yes, Stoops for Sawyer, the battle on the bottom, as you can see. And that's, I believe, trying to find where Sawyer is currently out on track. That's down for 37th. 37th and 38th, they're currently battling out. And he has a 3-way fight. Oh, Bradley Lovings is getting a little bit close for comfort there in the 4 chicanes with a couple of the other drivers.
I mean, yeah, more than the 3-car fight. This is a mess for 23rd place. at the moment. Purser's got a slowdown though, and so that's going to be all trouble. This is just on their own, Bailey and Tidwell, a little bit further up, but and they're side by side. Tidwell around the outside, a bit too far around the outside there. Good racing, but Bailey should see him off there. But further back, Purser has managed to serve his slowdown quite nicely, actually, because he did have it just in front of a lot of drivers, which could have cost him quite a few positions. In the end, it doesn't really. Claudio has dropped back a little bit, so Jeremy Cheney is battling with him now for 5th position. Out front, Probert and Merriam still leading, still continue to extend their lead as well. But Gearing is 3rd, then Riley, and this is the group, really. Horvatin dropped to the back of it with that spin. I believe it was a spin through Tete Rouge earlier on in the day. Now he's into the slipstream of Dickerson and on the run down towards the first chicane, weaving around, having a look left and right. Loving's at the back of the group. It's been reduced to 5, and they follow one another into the first chicane. These are the kind of groups you want to see at Le Mans. And there's trouble for Horvatin as he gets into the back of the Mustang in front. He just misjudges the speed of Dickerson, and Bradley Loving slips through.
Yeah, thankfully didn't lose the car there coming onto the back straight. That would have been detrimental for Horvatin, having a second incident so early on into this race. But it seems like something's happened to David Stoops. We did see him fighting in 37th with JT Sawyer, but he's completely dropped out of this race, and I believe that might be it for him, unless it was a bit of a network issue, as he's down in 43rd right now, and he's got the out title next to his name. So not too sure what's happened. We possibly have a replay maybe. This is David Stoops. Indeed it is. And this is coming through, I believe, the 4 chicanes towards turn number 1 yet again. Okay, he misses the second chicane. Into the sand he goes. No imminent damage on that car. And stops the car in the sand. And does he return it to pit lane? Indeed he does. So David Stoops possibly not just having the best of days there. That definitely wasn't enough to retire the car like that. He could have definitely still made it around the track. No detrimental damage on that car. Maybe a bit of underfloor bouncing, but nothing too much over the sausage curves there, and he decides to pull the car in. But Damien Horvatin, he's going to do absolutely everything he can to get back up to that fight. Curtis Matthews now leads this 10-way train, and a big thing to remember for him is he really doesn't have to fight that much. He can drop down a numerous amount of positions here, and he's still going to get the same amount of points. So a huge consistency game here that needs to be played for Matthews with all the pro and pro-am drivers stacked up behind him.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about this series is that there are so many different, 3 different classes, but they often mix so much in these races, which is the interesting part. Sebastian Fack has been moving forward very nicely, though, in this race, so I'd be surprised if he isn't in 10th very soon. That would be his 10th position gained. But there are the class leaders, and ordered by where they are in the field, and you'll notice Am in front of Pro-Am. You do not see it very often. Jonathan Williams just misses his apex there, and there goes Cook looking around the outside through the S's. Going to be very, very difficult to manage that, though. Jonathan Williams will be feeling comfortable, I think, with the position he's currently finding himself in. Just over a second in front of Heath Ollinger, who, to be fair, is still in that group. Anyway, Loving's also applying the pressure now to Dickerson and Purser. Just in front, there's... Well, never really had a big group for the lead of the race. We're starting to see a few of them develop after 20 minutes down the field.
Yeah, and hopefully these long train fights will last us for most of the race, because towards the end things do quieten up. But this 5-way fight looks like it's still indeed very much so all to play for over here as they come through the 4 chicanes now. And that Mustang still very much missing his front bumper. The radiator's missing. Lovings makes a dive on the inside, and what an overtake from Lovings. He saw the gap and all the forward there of Dickerson. Looks like he's struggling a little bit. I wonder if that's the front bumper coming into play a bit, as he did have a bit of a squabble on the exit of 4 chicane. But regardless of that, what a great move from Lovings. Dive up on the inside of the first chicane, and through he moves up a couple of positions, 1 position up now into 24th. Horvatin also gets past Dickerson, and Soanes a little bit further behind will also try and make his way around now. And so Dickerson looks like he's just trying to limp that car until his pit stop at the end of the first stint.
And those first pit stops will not be a million miles away. Anybody who can make it to another 25 minutes will be able to do 1 stop. But as I'll get you the exact what Brad Tidwell said before this race. We have the same 60% fuel cap for this race, so 2 pit stops will be required unless you're a magician. So that gives you an idea of just how likely he thinks it is that anybody's going to be able to do this race on just the 1 stop this afternoon. There is Lovings, who's just in behind Alan Purser again here, and surely going to be working his way through. There he goes, and maybe Horvatin will follow. Well, I don't think Purser wants him to, but Horvatin might force the issue down the inside. Oh, he does force the issue, and quite nicely as well. I don't think, as I say, Purser was wanting to let both of them through in one go there. He'd rather do one at a time, really, on the way into both chicanes, but he's managed to slip through there, has Horvatin. Meantime, and uh-oh from Jim, and a spin from Michael Dion, and a contact with the wall. The Corvette there, pretty badly damaged, and Michael Dion's difficult day, right from the very beginning, has continued here.
Yeah, it's a valid tow back to the pits there for Dion. The entire rear side of his Corvette was missing, as Cameron Risley a little bit further down. Exact same thing happening in his BMW M4, except he thankfully was a little bit more clear of the walls on the left-hand side skirts of the track, and he can continue going onto the Milson straight. But very unfortunate there for Dion. The entire backside of that Corvette now left to scrapes on the side of Dunlop. And back to the pit lane he will go. Hopefully he can get the car repaired and out on the track. He's still got a good hour or so left to go. And definitely lots of racing, definitely. Curtis Matthews, he's currently fighting with Sebastian Fack, but obviously it's not for any form of position, as Curtis Matthews in that AM class and Sebastian Fack in the Pro class. So we'll have to see if what goes on over there. Fack does move up. Cook will be the next to try and contest with Curtis Matthews. And still, yet again, what a great job he's doing for the AM class. I mean, the fact that he's ahead of the leader of the GT3 Pro AM class is yet another thing to say for the driver. So he seems to be finding his feature in the Acura around Le Mans, and let's hope he can continue it for the next hour or so.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job here. Curtis Matthews continuing to do so. Oh no, Lovings going for a big spin through Indianapolis, and he is just about going to stop before he hits the wall. He's gotten away with it, but in that big group, he's gone for a big spin. And Bradley Lovings, he's going to bring a load of gravel right onto the racing line there. That's nice. But anyway, he's gone for a big spin through Indianapolis here. It's high speed. It's so difficult through that section. And dare I say it, not a corner you'd really like to have the Audi through, to be honest, because it would very easily snap away from you, as I think we're about to see here with a replay of Bradley Lovings. I think that's exactly going to be the cause of this spin, if I were to guess. Oh, he's not even been hit by anybody. And look at that there. Not far away from taking out the Mustang. Not far away from hitting the wall either. But an unexpected change in speed. You just can't change line or change speed halfway through the corner like this from Bradley Lovings. And he goes into a big spin.
Yeah, and unironically, the one place he actually plants the car on the left-hand out of Indianapolis is the one place there's no runoff gravel. And I'm so surprised he managed to keep that out of the wall. The gravel would usually slow the car down enough before making contact. But obviously, the one patch of tar that's probably used for emergency escapes is where Bradley Lovings finds his Audi parked. And great job from him to slam the brakes. Thankfully, the Audi does have pretty good brakes, but completely different circumstance there for what the brakes have got to do, and he manages to keep it out of the wall. Here's Ryan Merriam. He still hasn't been able to gain his first position spot back, but like we say, it all comes down to what the strategy ultimately is of the driver. It could be a fuel save moment right now for Ryan Merriam, and hence why he hasn't been trying to get past. He's using that slipstream and possibly easing off the throttle just to stay behind Probert and extend that fuel tank time around the track, as most of the drivers will probably be fuel saving to get those 2 pit stops in. You do not want to try and go for a 3rd pit stop. That's a massive waste of time at any racetrack. Obviously, the track, the pit stop lane distances obviously differ on each track, but all drivers take the same amount of distance. So regardless, you want to try and avoid that 3rd pit stop, and that's exactly what most will be doing. Merriam definitely so, as he sits behind Probert. But 25 minutes in, about to reach the halfway mark, which represents 1 hour left of racing here. And indeed, the nightfall is starting to set. We're probably at about 25 minutes past 9 in sim track time. And it is going to slowly start to get dark. A little bit more of a challenge for the drivers to conquer here around Le Mans.
It is going to be headlights very soon, making more of an impression on the tarmac in front. 9:15 now in sim. So this race will end up just gone 20 past 10 in sim. And there is the sunshine still beating on the front straight, just about. In the meantime, Merriam just stays behind Probert. So this is what I thought Probert was going to do earlier. But now Merriam's doing, and I think Merriam's got the right idea here, by the way. You're never going to save a lap of fuel around here because it's too long. But you might be able to shorten your pit stop. And that's exactly what Merriam can do here by staying behind Probert like this. And that's what, oh no! Big crash here for Sean Riley. And I think Claudio was involved, and so was Jeremy Cheney. What on earth was that all about? Because they're on a straight, for goodness sake. How have they managed to come into contact there? That is, well, somebody has done something pretty unforgivable there. We'll find out who in a moment when we go back a little bit further and try and get to the start of that incident. So, out of the Mulsanne corner, Cheney's got a good run in the Porsche. He's alongside. Riley's squeezing him. Nothing wrong with that. Cheney on the inside. Oh, and I suppose they just sort of meet in the middle there. And then Claudio doesn't really slow down and piles in. But goodness me, how have those two let that happen there? And I think they'll be mad with each other, in fact, at the fact they managed to meet in the middle and have such a high-speed impact on the way down towards Indianapolis. Oh, Smalley, sorry, not Cheney.
Yeah, it's going to be massive suspension damage as well for all those drivers. Here's possibly... Oh, it's another. It's just Cheney again spinning. I think that's after the damage. Yeah, I think it might be after the damage.
So it was Cheney, but also Smalley's got a meatball. So what's going on there? Maybe there's something different going on. But anyway.
Yep, yes, Smalley. He's in the red Porsche on the outside line. Was he possibly tagged? Or this looks like it's past damage. He's definitely already hit the wall somewhere. The whole front side of that Porsche looks a little bit wrecked, and that steering wheel will definitely be sideways. But yeah, definitely meeting in the middle, like you say. Here's Smalley. Let's see what happened to him in the Mr. Sparkles racing team. And coming through the right-hander, nice. Was he possibly tagged? This is still with damage. Yeah, this is already damaged again. So he's been running it for quite some time. There we go. That looks like a Porsche that can actually hold a straight line. So what happened to Smalley here? On the right-hand side of the track, where does he plant the car? There's a slow car on the left. Oh, that is massive damage. And it is with Cheney. So Cheney, after the incident, limping on the track on the left-hand side, for some reason comes right into Smalley. And that's going to be an unfortunate one for Smalley. A bit of a race ruiner there, and absolutely nothing he could do, I would say.
That looks like Cheney has intentionally attacked Smalley, doesn't it? But he obviously hasn't. He's just got damage. Will Bailey very slow. Oh, well, look! Oh, great pass there. Who was that? I'm never going to be able to figure out who that was now. But it might have been Tidwell on Preston Halfway or something, or Quentin Price. Anyway, one of the Mustangs there and one of the Porsches with a great pass on the way down in towards the pit lane. They're on the way out of pit lane right now, by the way, in real time after 7 laps. Aaron Gearing was the first one in, and Stefan Bauer only 2 seconds further behind. But they've not made it to half an hour. That is a big, big concern, because if they're not making it to half an hour, they're going to need more than 2 stops in this race, which is going to be really, really damaging. So the minimum you've got to make it to, surely now we know, is 8 laps. And I think those guys have had sort of enforced pit stops, if you like. I don't think they've pitted sort of out of a strategy choice, because so many of them came down pit lane last time round. Only 14 out of about 40 odd have not come in on that lap.
Yeah, and to burn the wound even more there for Claudio after he got involved in that Mulsanne straight incident, he got himself a drive-through penalty as well onto the entrance of the pit lane. So he's had a bit of an unfortunate start to this race here. There's still an hour left, but he's really embarked himself towards the bottom side. He has Bradley Tidwell, 18th position, and he's interesting team name, CQB squared Delta 6. Lovely little play on whatever's going on in the front of there. I'm not too sure if that's some analogy of sort, but he's down in 18th position, and he keeps on pushing on strong. Now moving through Delta 6, obviously their endurance team. CQB squared is their actual main race team. Lots of action going on around the track over here. You can see just after the chicane of Mulsanne, there's a lot of cars in a bit of a train here trying to fight with each other. Bradley Tidwell now trying to find his way ahead of Williams. No, this is not Williams up in front. I believe he's got Bailey up in front. And he's trying to navigate around. It's Mustang versus Mustang. Second Mulsanne chicane now. And looking pretty reasonable. It's an overtake, though. Quentin Price on the inside line, though, of Preston Hathaway. And into the second chicane he will go. Comes out of position ahead. And it's great to see the drivers are still trying to make as many positions possible after this half-an-hour mark.
Well, they might well be on their way in this time round. We'll wait and see. Probert and Merriam still nose to tail at the moment, and if they are coming in, to be fair, you'd expect Merriam to actually try and make a move, but no, maybe he didn't try, and they're both in pit lane now, so that's just showing us how far back these guys are at the moment. But they're only coming through Mulsanne corner now, right at the opposite end of the circuit, as the race leaders are into pit lane. we'll keep an eye on them as far as anybody in terms of going further than 8 laps is concerned. Can anybody go further? We will see. The big group led by Sebastian Fack might be on their way in as well here in a second. Heath Hollinger getting a slowdown through the end of the lap, but he won't mind because he's coming into pit lane now. And here they come. All cleanly this time round through the tight chicane. Oh, wow, look at that. A big stack up there. Concertina effect and very nearly contact all the way down, but we get away with it. Probert out well in front of Merriam here. Well in front. 17 seconds for Probert, and Ryan Merriam's still there. Probert's taken an intentionally shorter pit stop, I feel, here, because Merriam's 26 seconds. Yes, it's the longest in the field, apart from those who had damage or penalties, like Alexander Claudio in this race, but Probert's is by far the shortest.
Yes, I wonder what strategy is being played here by Probert. Obviously, a much shorter fuel-up distance for himself, and maybe trying to stretch it out. Maybe going for the 3-stop. I don't know if that's going to be an existing strategy, but we'll have to see what's going to be played here. He's definitely fueled up a lot less than what Merriam has, and he's come out 10 seconds almost ahead. You can see the live timings tower having a bit of a fit as most of the drivers not coming in and out of the pit lane, and a couple moving up and down the order, as we see most of them coming out. So here is Tim Probert. Let's see how long that pit stop lasted. I don't think any of the drivers will be swapping out for new tires at this stage, maybe at the second pit stop. So Probert comes in, Merriam comes in just behind him, up onto the jacks. He goes on new tires, does he? And new tires for Probert, but I think a slightly shorter fuel up time, as Merriam spends quite a lot of time in that pit lane.
Let's see here. Did he go up in his jacks? I didn't see, but maybe it's just because I can't see him inside the other car there, which is... there he goes. He did jump down indeed. So probably 3 tyres, maybe 2, but not all 4. He wouldn't have had time to do all 4 there by any means, but the others would have. Anyone who did sort of 26 seconds or so would have had time. I don't think Merriam did take tyres. I didn't see him up on the jacks. And he's gone. Probert's just gone. Where has he gone? He's completely disappeared from from the section. Is it indeed a disconnection or a towing back to pit lane? Yeah, he's towed. It's not a disconnection, I don't think. He's towed back to pit lane for whatever reason here. We'll try and see if there's any obvious reason why. There may not be, but this is going to be a very, very long tow because obviously it takes a long time to get round Le Mans, and so that's all to be sorted out. Will Bailey's got a penalty meantime, not just a slowdown, but a proper penalty, and he's been overtaken by Cody Bont now, and Cloddin and Halfway might well follow through as well, as Bailey does indeed drop down. Those two following through there, but we'll investigate what happened to Tim Probert here in the next couple of moments and try and find anything, literally anything that might give us a clue in the working out of this at the moment. This is we'll just stay with this until so he just slows down and stops. Well, we're not going to learn very much, I don't think, by just watching him. I think it's one of those we're going to have to talk to him about, because that is an unusual one. From the race lead, they're pulling off to the side and not carrying on. Unless he... the only thing I could think of, my best guess would be that he forgot to begin refueling and begin refueling, which has been done before. And if it were to be the case, then he wouldn't have been able to get around the whole lap, so it would make sense for him to come in and tow as soon as he realised. But... yeah, that is a puzzling one, and he certainly wouldn't have done that. It's certainly not an intended strategy. Let's say this is trouble for the race leader, Tim Probert, who is no longer the race leader, and Ryan Merriam is out front by some seconds.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think 2 main reasons that could possibly have sprung up from just randomly disappearing off of the track on the right-hand side and pulling off. I feel like the fuel issue might be the most common one, just because of the fact of how fast his pit stop was. It could have also been like an in-person emergency, possibly something that maybe could have needed to grab his attention over a race. It does happen in sim racing, and possibly a reason. Yeah, side by side. Oh, through the Mulsanne chicane, and Sowens goes side by side. The Porsche just not, unfortunately, getting the traction there to make that corner stick, and off the track he will go. Thankfully, not too badly of a spin-off. That looked like one of the Mustangs, possibly Dickerson. Looks like Dickerson. I believe he's gotten his front bumper fixed, though. So he's on the inside line. Was it a bit of an early turn in there from Sowens? So coming into the corner, it looks like he's holding that inside. And, Sowens just trying to jump him on the inside line, and just a bit of a front tap there on the likes of Dickerson. And just got that bumper repaired, man. And now he's already had a bit of contact with it. So a little bit unfortunate there for Dickerson. Let's hope he can keep it on, though.
I was, thinking about the irony of that myself. Yeah, literally opening laps after he got it repaired. And Purser just in front of Damien Hoverton here, and just going to pull out the way on the way towards the forward chicanes. Will Bailey is into pit lane meantime to serve that penalty. Now, if that's the incident limit already, then he's in trouble this afternoon, because that is a very, very long way to go, with the amount of incident points, even less incident points that you're going to have remaining for this race. He's going to be stopped down in pit lane for some time. Any semblance of a good result here is going to be going away from him very quickly as well. But as I say, the actual incident points here might be more of a concern to him at the moment.
Yeah, it could have either been an incident points or coming out of that pit lane, probably. Might have been a speeding out of the pit stop. But, like you say, if that's incident points so early on in this race, he's still got a good hour to go. And if he makes the same kind of incidents, he's going to be spending a lot of time driving through and waving at his pit crew. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. But here's Jeffrey Sowens. Gel Sowens. He's obviously just had the incident with Dickerson. And now onto the backside of Lovings, trying to get ahead of Dukowski up in front in his Corvette. And let's hope that they can keep this nice and clean, though, through onto that Mulsanne straight that they go. And let's hope that the drivers here can hopefully keep this going without too much contact. And now still on board with the likes of the driver just behind Dukowski and Lovings of Gel Sowens. And the Belgian driver trying to find his way. The Porsche's right on the backside of the Audi now. Can he possibly find a way around? I don't know if he's going to, as they come towards, I believe, the first chicane. And it's actually, he's got an overtake already there. That looks like Alexandre Claudio, who's gotten up ahead. He had contact up there with the top three, and now he's trying to join in on this, trying to get ahead of the couple of the slower drivers. Remember, he was contesting for 4th and 5th. He's now obviously fallen all the way down to 21st position after all the incidents he's had. Let's hope he can keep it clean, though, in the next coming corners, because these three are all definitely fighting for position actively.
This is the most exciting group in the race to watch, I think. Yellow Sun's coming through now on Lovings, and it's probably going to be getting away from him as well, based on the speed that he's been showing at times here so far in this race. 19 places gained is the most of anybody so far for Yellow Suns. Brian Dukowski just up in front. That is contact for Tidwell, who has stopped to allow that Porsche back in front again. Trying to find Tidwell in the field. Preston halfway it is in that Porsche, who will have been put. There he's taking a drink as well from a proper mug as well. It might even be coffee. There you go. But it is the coffee cup after all. But that's the thing about Le Mans, isn't it? You do get a lot of time to sit around and and sort of have a drink, have a bit of a break, because there's so many long straights around here.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm hoping that is a little bit of a rough there for, it looks to be Horverton, as I can't recognize the liveries going around now with Purser, and it's the Battle of the Mustangs. But definitely hope it's some form of hot fluid in that cup for Tidwell. I swear if he's poured cola into a mug, I feel like that's an offense that should DNF him for the rest of this race. But let's hope it isn't. Let's hope it is a hot fluid. It is after all coffee cup, but hopefully it's a good coffee fluid from some reputable brands. We'll hope to see that. But also just remember, from Roasted Record sponsor, exactly, that's where I was hinting at. I was wanting the virtual grandstand to try and get a hint at it. They're obviously all over the banners at the bottom. You got to check out roastedrecord.com, and also use Sim20 for 20% off your next roasted order, and you can get some jet fuel in the backside of your car. We've seen it happen with a couple of the drivers who race for Roasted Records. They have a speed advantage, so why on earth would you not want a bit of speed advantage? Grab yourself some Roasted Record, as well as from DRE, the racing engineer application. If you're looking for something alternative from Crew Chief, well, it's also there on the banner below, and have a look at that, because the digital race engineer might be the next step after Crew Chief. So I believe a couple of the drivers will be running on it as well, alongside that great cup of coffee we saw Tidwell downing now. So 41 minutes into this race, still about 40 or so minutes left of racing to go. 11 laps have been completed, and here comes Loving, still trying to compete in this train.
Oh, he's trying to get away from it, I would imagine, but he'll find it difficult with Claudio and Cheney just behind. Both involved in that big smash-up with Sean Riley on the back straight earlier, don't forget. Sean Riley is out of the race, unfortunately, though, alongside Brian Hoskins and Michael Dion and Nico Tessicini. David Stoops and Adrian Rich are having very long pit stops at the moment. We'll see whether they decide to continue, but if not, then that's 37 still in the race. Not bad, considering we're about halfway through now. But these are three drivers, 18th, 19th and 20th, who you just expect to see a little bit further up the road, really. And again, they're going to be exciting to watch in these next few laps. And in fact, there's a lot of pros who will be from 15th to 21st. There's all to 20th, all pros. And behind the next cars, anyway, are Pro-Ams with the AM leader, Curtis Matthews. So they really could be working their way through the field in the next 45 minutes. And every position is a point in this series, don't forget, whether that's a driving your class or not. So these three have got to almost work together here and work hard to try and catch up and get as many as they can before the end of the day.
Yeah, let's hope and see what they can do in the next coming corners. As we still see, I believe this is our most entertaining. Oh, somebody's off through the Mulsanne chicanes. Another driver's off on the left. That's two cars off in through the chicane. The BMW's been able to recover themselves. I don't know who's gone off left there. You can see the smokers on the left. And so they've gone off. It is indeed Lovings who's come off on his Audi. So not too sure what's happening there. The Audi seeming a little bit uncontrollable yet today. That's his second spin-off he's experienced. And again, I think he's managed to avoid the barriers. So great job there from him. But let's hope he can try and control it a little bit better. This is Reyes a little bit further down. He's quite far off the order, as we know, 37th. I believe the final driver actually on grid to be driving. And into the right-hander he will go. I don't think he thinks it's a right-hander. The barriers are definitely still there. So he's going to have to navigate around those barriers, but thankfully avoiding the tire mark-offs and almost ending his race there into one of the tire barriers. Thankfully not. Here's another driver, Lawalski, and through the four chicanes he comes, and again losing it on the left-hand side. So a couple of the drivers starting to fall under the pressure of the longer 1.5 hour stint time and trying just to make it now towards the end of this race.
Yeah, indeed. And Lovings as well, adding to that list down to 24th now with that latest bit of trouble. Yellow Suns is now up to 20th again. Smalley, Dudkowski and Dickerson in that group, another large group. This is one though for second place. Brian Merriam is leading by a very, very long way in this race, but these are the three fighting for the other podium places, and it could just be just as much of an interesting fight. Really made up of three drivers who've stayed out of trouble so far, because you know, they had the likes of Cheney and Riley up in front of them earlier. They've passed them after their crash. They've passed Tim Probert now, who's dropped down the field because of his slightly strange time back to pit lane a moment ago. Yeah, it's a case of staying out of trouble for some, and that's how these three have given themselves such a chance of finishing on the podium.
Yeah, Young now up into third position in gearing after the incidents of the drivers up before. Oh, that is a huge crash over there for Sowens. And exactly where we saw the Audi of Lovings managed to avoid the wall. He unfortunately met quite a couple of them, right-hand side chicane and a tire barrier towards the end of the Indianapolis left-hander. Sorry, that was a bit of a tongue twister. And very unfortunate for Sowens. Huge damage on that Porsche. And very understandable tow back to the pit lane. I don't think you can recover that one. Here we see Hayden Young in third. He almost called out Probert. They've got the exact same livery going on, same team. And he's currently in third, right behind Gearing in second position. Will he try and overtake, or will this be another fuel save method? Just trying to keep in that slip. Remember that Bauer is also behind in his Mercedes. And it is eventually going to turn into a three-way fight. And he is actually just staying in the tow behind him and into the first Mulsanne chicane that will go. And seemingly they will be keeping the same positions. And let's see, will Young try and make a leap into the next couple of corners in this lap? Or is he going for the good old fuel save and just trying to keep at bay a bit more consistent there behind Gearing?
Yeah, they continue on down the Mulsanne straight to the second chicane. More slowdowns up and down the field. Dudkowski and Williams both with them now. It's just been such a factor of this race, and I think later we're going to start to see the big penalties stemming from this. It's going to be, I think, off-track penalties, to be honest, a bit later. Tim Probert's still in the race. He's going to have to work his way back through the field again here. He's back behind a lot of the AMs now. And so 14th in the Pro class. Yeah, going to have to work his way through. And I'm sure he will get a lot of positions, actually. And it's going to be entertaining to see. You can see on the window he's actually 29th overall. We'll see how many he can get here before the end of the race. He's got plenty of time, and he's got the speed. He's just got to pick off these guys one by one now.
He's just got to play the long game. 14th position overall, but 14th position in the Pro class, but obviously 28th position out on track. He does have the fastest time, 3 minutes and 52 seconds, like we have mentioned. But Cody Bonte, currently the biggest movers, 10 positions up. Cameron Rosley, though, 24 positions up on this track, and he seems to be doing well. Unfortunately for the driver we're watching now, Tim Probert has actually got the complete negative value of that. He's down 26 positions, now down 25, as he makes his way ahead of Hayes Bogan, down in 28th position. But still a large-scale race that we've got to go. It's still a good 45 minutes left of this race. Actually, about 42 minutes left to go. JT Sawyer also up 25 positions. Bradley Loving's up 23, but we did see him obviously have a bit of a spin-off a little bit earlier, but he's managed to recover it. Cameron Risley, though, still up there, 24th. Sorry, that's position on track. I just realized that now. I wondered why it wasn't in order. Cody Bonte, 26 positions up, and Cameron Risley, 17 positions up. So Cody Bonte actually the ultimate gaining champion over here, 26 positions up, and then JT Sawyer up 12, currently lying at 25th. Apologies about that confusion, but the racing still goes on. Merriam leads Pro-Am is for Matthews, and Williams still leads that Pro-Am division.
There goes Cheney past Claudio. Those two making contact earlier on that very straight, actually, after Cheney had tangled with Riley. And so that's now a top 10 in Pro for Cheney. But if we bring up the overall standings again, you'll see that these guys are actually a very long way back now in terms of the overall. 19th and now 18th for Cheney, I should say. So these guys got a lot of work to do as well. As I mentioned earlier, so many of the top names in Pro are behind a lot of the Pro-Ams here today, because it's been a bit of a cleaner race in Pro-Am. So that's the overtakes that we're going to be seeing a lot of here. Lap 13 now, so at the end of the next lap we might see some pit stops, and if we do, then we'll know that those guys can't make it to the end, and that could be well, damaging, very damaging indeed for those who seemingly can't make it to the end of this race on just the two pit stops. I think they're really going to lose out.
Yeah, definitely so. But we'll have to see how that strategy plays out. It's now the 50-minute marker, 40 minutes left of this race to go. The drivers still have a lot to play for as they come towards this final 50 minutes. It is now almost over. Well, it is indeed after the halfway mark. This race, 45 minutes was the halfway mark. And so just breaching that by 5 minutes or so. Now still on board, though, with Hayden Young. He is still not able to get past Gearing, and I don't. Again, we don't really know if that's what he wants to do, is to get past Gearing, or if he wants to stay in third. We tried to predict it with Merriam and Probert, but obviously that one fell through, and Probert made a lunge dive onto the inside line and moved up into first, and kind of contradicted whatever we were saying. So not too sure what's going to happen here with Gearing, Young, and Sawyer and Bauer in fourth position. We'll have to see. In fact, is also a little bit further behind, 13 seconds of a gap. Got a lot to play for and work with if he does want to get up towards this top four fight. He is in the same class, so that's what his push is going to be, trying to get up into this top four battle, being 13.8 seconds down. But for the time being, they still fight on strong, still on board here with Bauer, and you can see his gap is slightly extending now to Young, but as they go back onto the straight after the second chicane, he's going to start to reduce that slightly just due to the slipstream and the engine displacement. He's got the slightly faster top speed car here of the Mercedes compared to the McLaren, but still overall they've got relatively similar top speeds, and with the slipstream it doesn't matter that too much as they now come into that Mulsanne corner towards Indianapolis. They will try and go now, and this battle for third position is hopefully going to stay with us up and towards the end. I believe that'll provide the most amount of entertainment as we come to the end of this race.
Yeah, it's very much a waiting period in that front group at the moment, but further down there will be battles for now. Gardner and Carlson here for the last spot inside the top 30. As Gardner goes a little bit wide there. Carlson will just have a better run, but difficult to make a move down the S's here. Cody Bont close to Heath Hollinger and takes second in the Pro-Am class meantime. That's sort of sprung out of nowhere, that battle. Cody Bonts getting through, and this is Bradley Lovings going for a spin in the Audi, backwards into the fence. He's got another meatball, and that's a hard hit on the wall. I'm afraid it's just snapped away from him again there. These higher speed corners, and the Audi will always snap away from you, and that might be the end of Lovings' day, sadly.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a difficult one to try and get out of that. He's been able to manage the two previous spins, but that was rather a bit of a big blow there in the R8, and the entire backside of the car again sitting on the sidelines of De La Sarthe. So the Marshall crew is going to have quite a bit of a track there after this, trying to clean up all the debris around track. We've had quite a bit of cars losing their pieces out on track. There's a good battle though that we're currently watching. This is all the way up in the 18th position, Alexander Claudio and Jeremy Cheney. They've got Alan Purser just a bit further behind them, and they've obviously made their way up. These were the two drivers, respectively running in third and fourth, I believe, and third, fourth, or fifth. One of those three positions. Obviously, it's all dependent on the time it happened, but they're trying to get back up towards that top 5 now, because down in 18th and 17th is where they lie after that huge incident. And with only about half an hour or so left of racing, they're going to have to do quite a bit of a job to try and get back up there. And I don't know if it's going to be possible even to get near the top 10 as they continue going around the track now. But the two of them will also be competing with each other. They were competing with each other up in the top 5. And now, obviously, they're in the same position down in 18th position. So let's see where it does scale for these two drivers. Merriam still sits comfortably now in the lead after that error from Probert. I believe it is a fueling error that came from Probert, which is why he's so far down. But obviously, time will tell. We'll have a bit of a chat with them, hopefully, towards the end side of this race. Here's John Schneebel as he fights with Hayes Bogan.
Down the inside. Oh, I thought he was going to go for it in towards Arnage, but he doesn't fancy a dive from that far back. It's not a very long braking zone into Arnage, really. So he stays behind again. And this battle will continue as well. Lap 14 at the front of the race now, by the way. They're about halfway round, or Ryan Merriam. He's more than half a minute, though. It's worth remembering, ahead of the rest of the field. So we'll take the rest quite some time to get there. They'll need to get to lap 16 if they're going to feel comfortable making it on fuel. But last time around, Aaron Gearing and Stefan Bauer came in on lap 7. Hayden Young here doing the smart thing by fuel saving on the back of Aaron Gearing. He's just so again into the second chicane there, and has been doing so for some time now. And I think this is the difference in this race. I think Hayden Young is going to make it all that distance. I think he is going to get to the point at which he can stop and make it to the end of the race without stopping again. But for Gearing and Bauer, I'm certainly less confident that they're going to be able to manage it. Maybe they'll be in at the end of this lap.
Yeah, we'll have to see when they do come in, but agreed with you. They do have to come in eventually to get that pit stop done. It is roughly in that pit window now. We saw the drivers coming in at the halfway mark. And so if they do want to complete this race, it's going to have to be around the 1 hour mark that they come in. Claudio's had a bit of an incident, though, yet again. I did see him dropping off down on the left-hand side. Was it a self-error? Indeed, it was, coming through what looks like the first Mulsanne chicane. And a bit of an error on the entry there, flicking right and losing the car on the backside. Thankfully, no damage for him, but he does lose a couple of positions and, again, spraying confetti all over the track. So that'll be a happy surprise for the next driver who has to drive through all of that. We'll have to see if that does cause any effects on the track. Hopefully it doesn't, as it's a slower portion of the first Mulsanne chicane. But he's going to have to work hard now. Again, he's down to 20th, and he's lost out from Cheney in 17th position. Back up towards Young, though. He is still sitting in that nice slipstream where he's going to be fuel-saving compared to Bauer and Gearing.
So big moment coming up here as far as the front of the race is concerned. If indeed Gearing and Bauer have to stop, then Hayden Young is going to have an easy run to second unless he makes a mistake, because Sebastian Fack is 16 seconds behind this group. To be fair to him, he has had to come through the field quite a long way, up 15 places so far in this race. But just over 34 minutes remaining. That's too far to make it on one tank of fuel. You want to go at least another lap further here if you are at the front of the field. And that's what surely Gearing and Bauer are going to be hoping to do here. There's a formation lap for the first stint, so maybe they can go further this time, but they stay out. So this is a longer stint second time round than what they ended up doing first time. As they get to the line next time, they'll be in exactly an hour done, but I think Merriam's going to force an extra lap in this race compared to what the others might be able to do, so they've really got to think about this. And, well, we'll see. Surely Gearing and Bauer will be in this time round, but yeah, let's wait and see, because it's going to be very important as far as how many laps this race is going to be, and whether they can make it to the end on just 2 pit stops. This is turning a lot closer than I thought it would be, and Cody Bont is in. He surely won't be able to make it.
Yeah, he's up 26 positions now and coming to the pit stop. Price follows him as well in 10th position. But that's a great point that we've mentioned as well, is the fact of fuel planning according to the total race distance compared to fuel planning as to where the race leader finishes. Because most of the time it's rather unfortunate for the drivers chasing P1, but he does tend to go across the line just before that the checkered flag in terms of timing hits, and then another lap gets instituted. And at a track like De La Sarthe or a track like Nordschleife, it can mean the difference of finishing in a great position or not finishing the race at all due to a lack of fuel calculation, as the longer lap distances here, in particular 8 miles here at De La Sarthe, can play against that fuel strategy if the drivers plan to finish at 1 hour and 30 minutes compared to 1 hour and 34 minutes, which is what would happen if another lap gets added. So let's see what goes on, though. We're about to breach that final half an hour mark. Yes, Scott Carlson, we haven't seen him on the camera yet tonight. He's done the 31st, fighting with John Gardner. This is for class fighting as well, so up 8 positions for himself, and Gardner down 6 positions. So Gardner, in terms of qualifying, was the faster driver. And where will Scott Carlson go to try and plant ahead? I believe, according to where he's up by, he actually didn't set the lap time during qualifying, so we don't have a rough a calculation of how fast he was in qualifying, but we do know that John Gardner was in 24th position, so he definitely got a lap in there. But looks like Carlson might actually be a slightly faster, maybe a bit more chained to the track right now. He's trying to make his way around the Mercedes, but he's making it difficult there for the Porsche driver in 31st.
The pit stop times are going to continue to scroll through on the bottom, but I think anybody we're seeing at the moment scroll through is not going to make it unless they get lapped by Ryan Merriam. Now that's not impossible, especially for these guys. Gardner and Carlson, O'Brien and Sackett are behind as well. Merriam's only coming into the Porsche curves now, so it's not impossible that they could actually get lapped, and that actually might save them in a weird way from having to stop again. Halfway and Cheney in towards the chicane again. Cheney up to 12th place, and I think of those who've had that big accident on the back straight there with Smalley and Claudio and Riley, who retired from the race, to be fair, so he's not still around. But Cheney's recovered the best. He's up to 12th place now, and maybe now he can start to pick off some of the prams. Preston Halfway being the first of them, I believe. I think, yeah, he is a pram. So that's the first of them. Cheney has got a whole load more positions up in front, though, as opportunities to gain points. As I mentioned, I'll reiterate it again. Points in this series are based on the overall finishing position, not who's in your class and who isn't. So Cheney has points on the table, not that far up the road here.
Yeah, let's hope that he can get a couple more points down in 12th position as he continues to go around the track. And just about to breach that 30-minute mark left. You can see that 33rd there of the driver of Danny O'Brien coming out of the pit lane now. Well, he's just actually into the pit lane, and we'll have to see if that's a little bit too early. It means they're going to have to run about 31 to 32 minutes, depending on where Merriam places his car coming towards the end of the 1 hour and 30 minute lap, the 1 hour and 30 minute total duration of this race. And for the time being, he's still well up in front. Young does move ahead of Gearing and Bauer as they come into pit, and there it has officially happened. Young stays out, and Gearing and Bauer have come into the pit lane to serve to get some to fuel into the cars. They haven't really been fuel saving. Young was getting quite a good amount of fuel saving there behind the likes of Gearing, and so he'll stay out for a little bit longer. Let's hope that can play to an advantage there for himself. Jeremy Cheney is still down in 12th position though, and he's working his way back up quite swiftly. I can't lie to you. We obviously saw him down in 23rd position after the spin, and all the way up into 12th now for the Aeronaut Racing team. Let's hope he can get a couple more positions here to score even more points. Gearing and Bauer dropping off that order though, as they are into the pit lane officially. Williams, Fack, and Cook have all gotten ahead, and Matthews will get ahead shortly as well. And this is definitely going to play into how where each driver comes out in terms of the strategy that they've picked.
Let's look at the sky in the background there, by the way. Looking very nice. Sunset. And it's going to be dark just for the final minutes of this race, it looks like. Gearing and Bauer on their way out of pit lane just as the next group comes in. Jeremy Cheney leading them in. Halfway in Hoverton as well. They've gone just past the hour, so they might be fine to make it. But imagine they're not, and Curtis Matthews would legitimately be in 6th position. It's still an extraordinary drive from Matthews, who might actually be able to get a top 10 here at the end of the day. I don't think that's happened yet this season. A Pro-Am driver getting into the top 10 by the end of the race, but Matthews has a great chance to do that here. I think Ollinger was in 10th before that round of pit stops there. Not entirely sure. We'll have to see how it works out when they make their pit stop, either this time round or the next time. But still an extraordinary drive from Matthews. Normally a close run race in AM. I mean, Matthews didn't qualify, even in qualifying pole last week. He had to pass Jim Sawyer on the racetrack at Watkins Glen, but he hasn't had to even interact with any other AM cars here today. That's how dominant he's been.
Yeah, like we mentioned, the next AM driver down in 21st position, and so he's a long shot ahead of that, and it's going to be some great points on the board up in 6th position for him. 3 positions up from where he started. I mean, that just even shows you how good his qualifying pace has been if you only joined us now for the Blue Angels driver of Curtis Matthews. As we see a couple more drivers coming in. Sawyer comes into the pit lane in 26th position as well. And that's Mr. John Schneebel, who comes in as well to get that pit stop done and dusted. Mitchell Williams also comes in. And a couple more of the drivers will be coming in. We are indeed in that accurate pit stop window, which we did kind of calculate at that halfway point. We calculated half an hour is where they first came in, and now at the hour is where we'll see the next couple of cars coming in, and that should get them towards this end of the 1 hour and 30-minute race. As we mentioned, though, it might get a little bit sticky towards the end, depending on where Merriam finishes compared to the rest of the grid. And those lapped cars will be thankful if they can stick behind him and possibly finish the race 1 lap down compared to what everyone else has to do. But that's all going to come down towards those final couple of laps. We've still got a good, I'd say, a good another 5 or 6 laps to go here in this race. And we still have lots of fights going on. Cody Bonte currently fighting with the other Porsche driver. This is with Quinton Price, as they came into the pit lane at the same time, and they came up at the same time as well. Cody Bonte is still up in front with 23 positions gained.
And Ryan Merriam into the pit lane from the race lead will surely be out with a just as big of a lead as he came in with. It was over 40 seconds actually as he came in. He'd been extending it again. Looks like Merriam's on for 2 in a row here and 3 in the first half of this season. That would extend his championship lead over the likes of Aaron Gearing quite significantly here. Unfortunately for David Van Roy, who's not here today, he's going to lose therefore about 25 points to Merriam compared to where he started the day, where he was already 19 behind. So he's going to end up quite a long way back. But Bont versus Price for 13th position will continue on. These two have both pitted, and they're waiting really to see where they come out in relation to the others who are pitting now as well. But Merriam's out on the racetrack. Oh dear, look at that dive down the inside from Price. Before the others have even got out onto the pit lane, these two are fighting here, which could just compromise their ability to get past a few people they're hoping to get past who are in the pit lane right now.
Yeah, let's just try and keep the fighting for a little bit later. That the drivers coming out of the pit is going to be crucial as to where they place themselves. And as you can see, the main pack up in front, second all the way down to 8th, have decided to pull in. As you can see, Gearing and Bauer still down in 9th and 11th. And there's Young already on the pit exit. You can see Gearing's now slowly moving up that board, but Young's already out of the pit lane. So he's definitely had a good change of plans over here, because a good amount of seconds ahead. 5, it's dropping slightly, 5, 4, maybe 3 seconds ahead. As we see it slowly start to even out. There it evens out now, 3.8 seconds behind Young. And Young definitely played a slightly shorter pit stop length over there. He didn't have to put so much fuel in compared to what Gearing and Bauer did due to all the fuel saving he completed. So now a good, it's actually come down to 2.7 seconds. Now still a good distance though from himself and Gearing. It was literally bumper to bumper before the pit stops. And now he's got a good headroom, 3 seconds of a gap. Bauer's also 6 seconds behind Gearing, so he's had it even worse compared to what Gearing's got to Young. And with 25 minutes left of racing, we'll have to see who comes out in that 2nd or 3rd position of the podium. So
Ryan Merriam leads by more than 40 seconds. Hayden Young's final stop there was a little bit shorter than the others because he'd gone further. So he's now comfortably second. Aaron Gearing third, has gotten ahead of Stefan Bauer. He must have made a mistake somewhere because that's 6 seconds and it's not due to pit stop time. Sebastian Fack is just about a minute off the lead and he's in 5th place. Probably going to be his limit today. Jonathan Williams is the Pram leader in 6th place. Finally the Pram leader in front of the AM leader. Brent Cook 7th, then Curtis Matthews, who is the AM leader. Heath Hollinger and Cody Bont running out of the top 10. Bont and Price are fighting over that top 10 position, as we've seen. Ken Cloddin is next, and then you've got Tim Probert, but he will be in this time round to make his final stop of the day. He's only 13th now anyway. He's going to get past Cloddin, but it's only going to be very, very brief before he has to come into the pit lane all over again here. So we're into the final half an hour and on the run to the finish here at Le Mans. And I'm not sure, to be honest, how many of these top 10 positions are going to change. Bont and Price are fighting over the 10th position, but apart from that, not really a fight happening. And hard to see how Young's going to be caught with a better fuel strategy and indeed the track position and quite a gap as well.
Yeah, it's also the thing to remember is that the drivers will play the defensive game if it comes up to it, especially so late into the race now with only about 22 minutes left to go. This is where the defense is going to become key as Jeremy Cheney takes a little bit too much Sasha's curb on the X side of the Ford chicane and does indeed go around, unfortunately, trying to get the Porsche back up onto the track. He's going to lose out there to Horverton on the left-hand side, and they continue going around down to 7 positions for Cheney. But that is indeed the thing you need to worry about as well, is that if Gearing does manage to get up towards Young after a bit of an incident he might make, he's still got all that time to try and defend himself. He will go into the defensive mode, even if he loses time to the leader. It's anyway far too much to catch him at this point. So Young will go into a full defensive mode, will not let the other driver pass, and no matter what his life depends on it. Here we have Stephen Smalley, the Mr. Sparkles 992, as he continues to go around the track. We saw him have that massive incident towards the start with Cheney, and now he's just behind Cheney. And so let's hope he didn't think that was intentional, because he's chasing onto him now just a couple of positions away.
Yeah, indeed. So, still in the race, by the way. Still 34 cars, so only 9 retirements from the day. And I hesitate to say this, but only had 9 retirements, and indeed not in the last 6 laps either. No, not in the last 6 laps. So we're going rather well. This group, by the way, live pictures, Jeremy Cheney's getting away from. Preston Halfway is next, and then Damien Horvatin. Smalley is alongside Horvatin now, in towards Indianapolis. He's on the inside. Horvatin's going to hold on the outside, though. These are all pro drivers scrapping amongst themselves as well as with the Pro-Ams. Unfortunately, I think Halfway is going to get eaten up by both of these two, but Smalley and Horvatin are going to have quite a battle themselves.
Yeah, they're going to have to try and play their wits here around the track. This is the final moment here, 20 minutes left of racing to go. This is where it starts to become tight for the drivers, and where they try and capitalize on absolutely everything that they can. Horvatin down in 17th, and like we mentioned, he did just get ahead, I believe, of... no, he didn't get ahead of Cheney. Apologies, that was another driver who got ahead of Cheney, so he's down at 17th. Cheney is up in 15th, and that is indeed a battle for position in terms of division. And so he's going to be chasing down to try and get ahead of the driver up in front. Obviously, Preston Hathaway, not the same division, but will be a points gain if he can get past him. As Horvatin already 4 positions up for the checkered motorsport team. 17th, what can he do to get past the Porsche? He's doing absolutely everything that he can to find his way around. Will it be the Ford making the move in the Ford chicanes, or will he render this to the Porsche coming out of the Porsche curbs? It's a good play between these two as they fight it along now. And coming through the Ford chicanes, they will go. He does remain slightly a bit further behind him, and not making any aggressive launches, but he did get a slightly better exit there. The Porsche up in front touching the sand, and so Horvatin might have a slightly better exit speed compared to the Porsche up in front of the likes of... Oh, we have Tim Probert again into the pit lane. I believe he's coming in to serve that final pit stop. Preston Hathaway up in front will try and keep the Ford behind at bay.
I think it could be a full-on hope, but here we go. Down the S's. Horvatin's close already here to maybe having a look. It's unusual to see a move down the Tetrou's S's though, and so he won't dive there. Over the top of this little rise and towards Tetrou's. Again, too small of a braking zone through here to actually make a move, but this Mustang surely will overpower the Porsche on the straight and come through into 15th position here. Bont and Price just exchanged places once or twice further up as well, by the way. But look at the Porsche going in a straight line there. That is surprising. I wasn't expecting that at all. Horvatin not able to get past him on this occasion. And he's not going to dive from this far back on the brakes either. So that is very surprising indeed. I thought the Mustang would have way too much power for the Porsche, but maybe Halfway's got a better chance of holding on if that's the straight line speed he's possessing.
Yeah, and you can see Horvatin a little bit upset there in his camera. He was throwing his hands out there. I think he's also a little bit confused as to what we are. That Porsche was pulling like he's got some weight reduction on that car. He has Bont down in 10th though. He's still busy fighting out with Price. And as you had mentioned, this is the fight for the final spot of the top 10. And Checkered Motorsport's driver up 26 positions, but he is going to go side by side now. Almost side by side. It is now officially side by side with Price coming down in towards the right-handed now. And who is it going to be? Is hopefully we don't see them meeting in the middle like we've seen a couple of drivers before. And it looks like Bont is going to be able to keep it against Price. He's managed to shift his perspective onto the inside to the next corner. And now coming out of India, out of the Mulsanne corner down towards where Indianapolis will be. It's still the same order running for Cody Bont and Price a bit further behind. Price is looking everywhere, though, to try and get past this Porsche. And you can see Bont's car is slightly damaged as well. So Price will have a little bit of an advantage in terms of the top speed. The aero will be damaged on that Porsche. And you can see it's a little bit crooked up on the front. A little bit of side-by-side, elbow-to-elbow racing here. But Bont is still going to hold it. What a great masterpiece of aggressive defense this is coming from Bont to hold off that final spot of the top 10.
Not really sure how he's doing it with the damage that he's got on that Porsche, but he is holding on to 10th for now. Quentin Price will be desperate to get in front though and try and retain this championship lead here today, which is what he currently holds by 2 points over Will Bailey. It's not going to be Bailey he's particularly concerned about in the standings, because Will Bailey is a long way down at the moment in 26th. But it's Jonathan Williams who could take it off him. Williams starting the day 6 points behind. And at the moment, Price would be seeing his gap reduced to just 1 point over Jonathan Williams. He'd very much like to keep that gap as big as possible by moving into the top 10. And this is the final race in that first section. Don't forget, next week we'll be back to the hour-long races again. And indeed, a new drop week will be available in the second half of the season. The first half of the season drop week will already be locked in, so that's what helps to keep this championship so close, and it certainly has been so far in Pro-Am. Horvatin now, as we look back for him, just keeping Smalley behind, but still can't get past Hathaway, who's not even in the same class as them.
And coming towards that final 15 minutes, Horvatin, 16th position. And like I mentioned, he's trying to fight it out. Hathaway up ahead. Still different division fighting, but 5 positions up nonetheless for the Croatian driver from Checkered Motorsport. And had some frustrations earlier fighting with that Porsche, but looks like he's had to just surrender it now. And he's lost out slightly. He has still the battle for 10th, and I believe this might be our most intriguing battle on the field. As we did mention, here at Le Mans, the lap times and the battles do tend to even out quite a bit towards the end, but not here for the battle for 10th. And it looks like Prince has been able to actually capitalize on the outside line. He might be faster, but here comes Bont, as Prince does lose that slipstream speed advantage, as Porsche does begin to slow down against Price, apologies, and Bont now moves up back into 10th position through the first Mulsanne chicane, and he will maintain it yet again from Price. And let's see what they can do into the second half of the chicane. A better exit, though, from Price. Now you saw it on the exit of that corner. He's looking all over the backside of Bont, trying to find a way around. He's trying to get the slipstream, but as you can see, as soon as he pulls out of that slipstream, he loses all the speed he's built up. And here he pulls out. You're going to see he's going to pull a little bit on Bont, but as they get side by side, he does begin to slow down a bit. Bont is going to try and keep up with him. It is still side by side action between the two. And my goodness, it is bumper to bumper, elbow to elbow. But Bont yet again stays ahead through the second Mulsanne chicane, and he is doing everything he can to maintain this 10th position.
Yeah, you feel like he's got to at the moment, because I think Price would be able to skip off up the road if he were to actually get past here. But Maybe that's not true. Maybe the slipstream would keep him in close here. Cody Bond. Oh, that's a late defence. That was late, but he's just about got to the inside there. Here comes Price now on the outside line. He's going to try and go around the outside at the Mulsanne corner. Oh, and he's gone too deep. He should have braked earlier there and tried to cut underneath Bont for the exit of the corner, because it's a very long run towards Indianapolis after Mulsanne corner. But in these final 15 minutes, we're starting to see, yes, the battles are thinning out, but those battles that we do have are starting to matter a lot more, because there's no pit stops remaining, there's not much time left remaining, and they are therefore fighting much harder. Bradley Lovings has had a very difficult day, and I think he's decided to call it a day down there at Arnage. He's trying to actually leave the bounds of the circuit by the looks of things there. Run over a marshal or something, but no, he toes back to pit lane, and that's the end of a difficult day for Lovings, I think. Same for Robert Sackett, actually. They've both been down pit lane for quite a long time now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate event to see towards such a late moment of this race to pull the car in, especially for Lovings. He literally needed to go around for another 15 minutes, and he would have gotten towards the end of this race. I think also just being so far down, I don't know if there would have been much points up for grab down there. He still would have been able to finish it, though, and unfortunate to see him not finishing it at this late into the event. But yes, still Quentin Price, he's so close on the backside of Bont, coming into the Porsche curves now, and towards Ford chicanes they will go, and still bumper to bumper between these two. And like we've already mentioned, it is the only fight out on track right now that I believe is worth watching. A little bit on the grass there for Price, and he's going to lose a bit of track speed there compared to what Bont is holding up ahead. And we'll have to see how it's going to turn out for them. Coming into the Ford chicanes now, it looks like Price might have the inside line, but Bont goes defensive yet again, and it looks like he's going to hold it now for that orange and blue Porsche. Coming onto the main straight yet again, there's Price's view of it, and he's just on the backside of that 992, not able to get past the number 21, and he's going to have to just be patient here, I guess. I mean, 13 minutes left of racing. He's going to have to eventually try and make the lunge up onto the inside.
Well, he is. Bont blocked him last time round. Mr. Williams going for a spin meantime through the second chicane, and well, that's not the first time we've seen that here tonight. It's very difficult. Both chicanes are pretty difficult, really. They're like mirrors of one another. Oh dear, Alexander Claudio's already been in the wall tonight, and he's been in the wall again there through the Porsche curves. Surprised we haven't seen more through there actually so far. But Claudio now dropped back to pit lane. That's the end of his day as well. That's a proper retirement from him. He'll finish 33rd at the end of today. That's a real disappointment, considering he was running inside the top 5 for various points of the afternoon. And he's not going to get the result to show for it. Now, again, Quentin Price on the outside of Cody Bont, who protects the inside again. But the problem with the chicanes is that it very quickly switches back to the other side. So if Price can be late on the brakes here, he can get the inside for the second part. Bont on the inside is going to brake late to try and ensure that doesn't happen. And Price doesn't try and go around the outside. He's going to go for the exit instead. That's a much better line out of the second part of that corner there. So this might be his chance now. He's got a real run now coming towards the second Mulsanne chicane. Although, to be fair, it is the shortest of the runs between the straights on the Mulsanne straight, and that could be a problem for him. He needs that time to get in the slipstream and pull past, and he's actually going to push Bont. I thought that was one of his better opportunities, but he's actually pushing Cody Bont in front of him now.
Yeah, now alongside he will go. Again, he breaks out of that slipstream a bit. Bont again holds the inside line through the second chicane. And I really don't know how this is going to turn out for the driver down on 11th. He is doing everything he can to get up into 10th. And a reminder as well, this is a battle for class. It's not just trying to get into that top 10. It's also trying to get ahead in division standings over here for Quentin Price. And he is doing absolutely everything he can. But I've got to say, Bont has also got a massive drive over here to keep his Porsche up in 10th, especially with all the damage on it. Great masterclass of defense he's showcasing over here, and he keeps on he's doing it within legal boundaries, but he's doing it at the right time as well, where it just disallows Price to get a good run out. And there again, you see how he forces Price to take slightly more of an outside line and touches the gravel. That ruins any form of speed advantage he could try and build up on the backside of Bont. And again, he will have to just sit behind him. Even if he pulls out, the slipstream unfortunately fades away. That Porsche becomes slightly slower, and Bont holds the inside defensive line again and again and again. So now we're officially broken into that final 10 minutes. He's literally got 10 minutes to do this. He is side by side now. It's on the outside line, and I think he's actually just done it. He moves up onto the inside line for the next corner, but around the outside. What a great move there from Price to claim 10th position over Bont.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and to be fair, He's done it now, and with 10 minutes to go, should be able to seal the place. But let's see what Bont can do now from the second position, because I thought that front end damage would prevent him from being able to get back past Price. We'll see whether that's true or not. And the next lap, he's not going to manage it towards the Porsche curves here. It's quite difficult to manage anyway, even when you haven't got damage. So, yeah, but look at this already. I wonder whether Price has been really stuck behind Bont, as in going a lot slower than maybe he can because of being stuck behind Cody Bont. And look through the Porsche curves here. The gap grows to 1.5 seconds already. Maybe the damage is worse for Bont than I initially thought. That is a very, very quick extension of the gap there, and Bont is not getting that top 10 back.
No, definitely not. And I think that also just shows us how well Bont was defending. I mean, the fact that he was overslowing the likes of Price so much into the entrance and exit of every corner, to the point where he literally had to sit behind for more than 4 laps trying to get past Bont. And I mean, it's amazing that he was able to get past, but unfortunately for Bont, he doesn't have much of a chance yet to get back at this. Like you mentioned, that gap already a good 1.5, 1.6 seconds now that he's going to have to try and work back. And unfortunately, missing that front bumper, it's not going to be an easy journey for him. And I believe he's just going to be sitting where he is right now. He does have to watch out from behind, though. 3 seconds. It was 3.4. Now down to 3.1 of Cloden in 12th. And that is also a fight for in division. So he's got to watch out from that one. Horverton down in 15th is still trying to get ahead of Pasta and up towards Cheney to fight for the division spot. But he's having a bit of a hard time trying to navigate up this grid.
Indeed, there's been a lot of drivers having to come through the field here in this race, given the extra half an hour compared to what they normally get. It's been more of a factor of this race maybe than what we've seen in other races. But here comes Demin Horvatin now on Raul Pasta. Surely able to get just one more position here. Maybe he'll be able to get to Cheney, but only if he gets more slowdowns, like what Jeremy Cheney has just managed to get there out of Tete Rouge. Here comes Horvatin to the inside line on Raul Pasta, and surely through. Pasta will try and fight this because it's late on in the race, and that, absolutely is a point to it. Well, very close. And Horvatin whips around the outside through the second pot with only centimetres to spare. They do not make contact. And Horvatin gets round the outside and through into 14th position. That was quite a good overtake there, and very efficient as well. Raul Pasta now will be opened up to attack from Preston Halfway and also Stephen Smalley, who is just next in line as well. They're all in this group now, catching up to Pasta in these last minutes of the race.
Yeah, it's a 2.9, well now 3-second gap for Horvatin to try and chase down on Cheney. And unfortunately, his horizons will have to switch up a bit. I know he's trying to chase it. And talking about changing up horizons, he gets a yellow flag there for having to slow down. That's for cutting the corners out of the second chicane there. And he's going to have to serve that penalty. Try and serve it ideally through a corner where you can lose as little time as possible. But I was just saying he needs to try and catch up there to Cheney. But he's got pressure from behind of Pasta. And here comes Hathaway, actually. He's trying to get past Pasta now into the next couple of corners. And he's actually gotten closer very, very shortly than what I thought it would happen. It's the same now for Bont. He's now 2.6 seconds of a gap from Cloden. And he's got to watch out for that one. But there is only 6 minutes left of racing, approximately 1 or so more laps to go. Preston Hathaway is going to possibly try and make this 3 wide. I don't think there's enough space to. And he will touch the rear side there of the Porsche, of the Ferrari of Pasta. And now Hathaway trying to look. There he makes it 3 wide now. And I believe Horvatin's actually lost out to Hathaway. Horvatin's actually gone past behind both of them now in this fight. And Hathaway is on the outside line. From this camera angle, you can't see where Horvatin is. I wonder if he's on the outside line. There he is there. And unfortunately, Hathaway coming through the left hand over there loses out from both of them now.
Yeah, not sure whether they were 3 wide or not there. But they might well have been for just a brief moment. In the end, not much changes. Pasta gets back in front of Horvatin. Really, not much change. Horvatin, though, is going to have a chance on the way towards the Porsche curves again to have a go here. Smalley on the back of Halfway as well will get through very nicely into 16th place. So Halfway happy to let that go now. I think gave it one go really to try and get back in front, see what could happen. But now that's not going to happen. He backs away. Horvatin Pasta continues to work on this pass on Raul Pasta. At the moment, they are starting their penultimate lap. Ryan Merriam is just a lap away from the white flag here. We 23-lap race, which means anyone who pitted on lap 15 or later will be able to make it to the end. All of these guys did exactly that. Horvatin through on Pasta into the final chicanes of the lap. With 2 laps to go, he is into 14th, and I think holding on to 14th is the best he can do from this race, and that's not going to be easy, as we've seen. Pasta's willing to put up a fight here.
Yeah, let's see what Pasta will do. He's lost out to Horvath, like you've just mentioned, and Cheney's just up the road as well. And hopefully he can put on a fight coming towards this final couple of seconds, to a couple of minutes of this race. And I'm not too sure where Merriam is currently out on track, but we do officially have just under 4 minutes left of racing, which is the average lap time. So here's Ryan Merriam. He's currently just come out the Mulsanne corner down towards where Indianapolis was starting on Naj as well, towards the Porsche curves he will run to. And with that 26-minute left, once he crosses that checkered flag, it looks like it will be the final lap. The white flag will be waved once he hits that checkered flag line. And so it will be slightly extended over that 1 minute and 30-second time, as it's now about to breach 27 minutes on the clock. He's still not at the checkered flag line just as of yet. And so we'll see what time he does come across the checkered flag and compare that to the average lap time. And from that, we'll get the extra time that will be run around the circuit for these drivers. And obviously, they've also still got to complete their lap time. So it all comes down to this. Unfortunately, it's for those drivers who plan to finish at 1 hour 30 and a very tight 1 hour 30. Unfortunately, it might be the end of their days here if they can't fuel save or if they can't make it to the end on the current fuel in terms of where Merriam will finish.
Yeah, indeed, less than 3 minutes to go. Merriam's about to cross the start-finish line for the final lap of the race. Oh, dear. I thought Smalley had crashed into some trees there, but it was just the camera angle. He's coming through on Pasta in towards the second chicane, and he is through. So Horvatin should be fine now from Pasta, but the problem is that he's got now another pro driver right behind him, Stephen Smalley, who's gone a bit wide there. And it won't be a slowdown, but that will be an off-track, and it won't be a very good run on the way towards Mulsanne corner either. And we've seen already that maybe the Porsche, in relation to the Mustang, is not quite so slow in a straight line. And so maybe Stephen Smalley does have a chance to get up to 14th position in the later moments of this race. Down in towards the Mulsanne corner again. Smalley's not going to get through there, but he will definitely feel this is an opportunity. Oh, no, never mind. He's got a slowdown penalty, and that might be that now. He might well end up losing out to Pasta. And that might be his chance of passing Horvatin gone. Let's see what he does towards Indianapolis, though, because he is still gaining on the straight. Now he's lifting off to try and let that time gap go away. And Pasta is still right behind. Is he going to get through? He won't know, of course, that he's got to slow down here, but he'll figure it out now. Inside he goes. Smalley has made a critical error there that's not only cost him a chance at 14th, it might even cost him finishing in 15th.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there for Smalley because Hathaway is just onto the backside of him, and he's already down to 16th unless he can make his way above Pasta. But we're expected to finish this race around the 1 hour 33, 1 hour 32 and a half minute mark, depending on where we see Merriam. He is in a bit of traffic right now, trying to nose around the track. And according to his last lap time, his best will obviously depict different. His best being a 3:53, last being a 3:55. So I think with the traffic, he might be at about a 3:56 here. And so we can see the 1:29-minute mark is officially launched, and he's still on the Mulsanne straight, only coming into the second chicane now. And so it's going to be quite a bit of time over that normal finishing time that we would see. It is definitely white flag territory, and he's on that final lap before seeing the checkered flags being waved. The drivers he has lapped will be quite grateful, which means they don't have to do a whole nother lap after him. But unfortunately for the Porsche up in front, he will have to do another lap if Merriam doesn't get up in front of him soon. As he'll start yet another lap before the checkered flag. A couple of drivers coming to serve their pits. It's Bont and Price. I wonder if they didn't have enough fuel to finish.
Yeah, Bont and Price came in on lap 14, so they didn't have enough fuel to get to the end. Neither does Micah Dickerson or Bradley Tidwell, but they're a long way further down the back of the field. That just shows you what outliers Price and Bont are in the field, because everybody else has been able to make it here. They are going to have to take on 1 lap of fuel, 6.5, 7 seconds worth, because it's such a long lap, and then get back out onto the racetrack again. That is very, very damaging for them. And Price, therefore, by the way, is going to lose the championship lead, I believe, to Jonathan Williams, who's going to go on to win in the Pro-Am class. Meantime, Ryan Merriam puts another lap on another driver, and surely he's on his way to victory here in just a moment.
Yeah, a couple more corners left coming out of the Indianapolis, coming out of Arnage, and out towards Porsche curbs he will go. And then finally that Ford chicane, the final couple of corner sequences before rounding off this lap. Brent Cook, 7th position. And we also haven't seen him up on the cameras yet too much tonight. He's in that blazing USA-style livery, the blue, white, and orange all over his car, currently fighting with Williams up in front, and he might get ahead on this final lap. It's going to be a change in position on track, but not a change in position in terms of his division. And he does move up into 6th position now, coming towards the final moments of the track. Merriam is now coming through the Porsche curbs and now coming towards the Ford chicanes. And as you can see, he's rounding out to the final curb there of the Porsche curve sequence and coming towards the Ford chicanes. And now gets past another driver who you can see actually forfeit today because he does not want to do another lap, or he possibly doesn't have fuel to do another lap. But here he indeed comes, Ryan Merriam, the Aeronaut Racing driver, who's remained in first for basically the entire second half of this race after the error from Probert's side. And around the final chicane, he will come. Merriam is a race winner yet again here. The championship leader extends his gap even further now. Checkered flag has been waved, and Merriam comes across the line in first. It's a long way until second will come across, 43 seconds of a distance. But what a drive it's been from the Aston Martin driver.
It's 3 in the last 5 races for Ryan Merriam now, who's really starting to take control over this season. Hayden Young is going to finish in 2nd place. Not been at too many... I can't see him in the... not been at all the races so far this season. He has got 1 race win to his name, Hayden Young. And this is the first podium since then. That win, by the way, came at the first round of the season back at Spa in the middle of December. So it's been a long time coming, this one. And there's Tim Probert. What a race this could have been between himself and Merriam if he'd have just not made that error through the pit stop phase. That's what it was, unfortunately. And Probert is now battling away with Cody Bont now on the very last lap of the race. Further up, by the way, Jonathan Williams is about to come through the final chicanes to win in the Pro-Am class in that Mustang. There he is. Jonathan Williams with that late pit stop from Quentin Price as well should take the championship lead here out of the final turn. And Jonathan Williams wins in the Pro-Am class after having difficulties at Watkins Glen last week. He returns to winning ways again. For the first time this season. Jonathan Williams just in front of Curtis Matthews in the end. As, oh dear, Cody Bont has had a spin on the last lap here. But he should limp home in any case. As I say, Curtis Matthews is going to come across the line now. And Ollinger's right beside him. Where are they? Oh, what's happening here? They go side by side over the line. There might have been one of them running out of fuel. Oh dear. What is going on there? I'm not sure whether they're just having a bit of fun or whether they're generally annoyed with one another there. But anyway, Curtis Matthews wins in the AM class. Seems to me like Matthews was out of fuel. But let's wait and see here what actually happened. Yeah, he pulled out the way. And Ollinger actually... Ollinger lets him have the place. I think Matthews was out of fuel and Ollinger let him have the place there, which I'm not entirely sure what was going on, and I'm definitely not sure what this is all about. But Curtis Matthews has won anyway. One of the more dominant AM performances you're ever likely to see. 8th place overall, 13 places better off than JT Sawyer, who's going to finish 2nd in the AM class. Curtis Matthews is going to get to halfway with a very big championship lead, only extended further by that extraordinary performance here today.
Yeah, a bit of an odd way to say thank you, if you have to ask me. A bit of a bump and bash there. From Matthews to Ollinger, so clearly it looked like he was saying thank you, like a bit of a, you know how you'd slap your friend on the back for something that they've done, and seems like that might have been the case. Here we have Bradley Tidbos, 22nd position. There's still a fight here as he's just behind Sawyer coming through the Porsche curves. And will there possibly be a bit of a position change? There's lots of focus there on Tidball. You can see him at the bottom of the screen. He is trying to look for every single spot to see where he can squeeze that nose of the Mustang. And now he goes side by side into the Ford corners, the Ford chicanes. Let's hope it'll be an advantage for the Ford driver because obviously it's named with the chicane, and he does indeed move ahead into the start of the chicane sequence. And let's hope he can stick it now through the starting of the chicane, through the second chicane. He will now come, and Bradley Tidwell moves up one more position. You can see the smile on his face at the bottom there. He is happy with that one, and 21st position. He will finish just ahead of Sawyer.
And those will be the final finishes. I thought Cody Bont would limp to the finish, actually, but turns out not the case. He will end up in 23rd, a little bit further down. But that is it here from Le Mans this afternoon. The first of our hour and a half races in the OGRL Coffee Cup here this season. And at the end of the race, we'll show the results. And here they are. Ryan Merriam is the winner. 44 seconds in the end in front of Hayden Young, with Aaron Gearing getting on the podium there as well. Stefan Bauer losing quite a few seconds towards the end, actually. Sebastian Fack rounds out the top five with Brent Cook 6th place. Jeremy Cheney and Damien Horperding got the closest to actually the instant limit there, but 7th and 8th in the end. Stephen Smalley and Alan Purser rounding up the top 10. These are just pros, by the way. Tim Probert outside the top 10. Bradley Tidwell was 12th, although at least on the lead lap. Alexander Claudio and Bradley Lovings were both 5 laps down, retiring there. So did Adrian Rich, Sean Riley and Michael Diome at the end of the day. Pro-Am was won by Jonathan Williams, 27 seconds in front of Heath Ollinger, who did let Curtis Matthews have that position in the end, as we saw. Glenn Cordon finishes in 3rd place in front of Ryle Pastor, with Preston Halfway rounding out the top 5. Quentin Price 6th, and Micah Dickerson in 7th place. Will Bailey got to the end there. Cody Bont retiring on the last lap. He'll still be credited with 9th. Brian Dukowski, Danny O'Brien were lapped down, I think, and Bobby Lewalski finishes a long way down after retiring early. And in the AM class, Curtis Matthews wins by nearly 2 minutes in the end. 13 overall positions, perhaps the more important thing over JT Sawyer, with Scott Carlson also on the podium. John Snable and Mitchell Williams running at the top 5 out of Hayes Bourne, John Gardner, Cameron Risley on the lead lap. Robert Sackett got to the end, or at least retired very late on, not sure quite which. Yellis Stones rounded up the top 10 with Julian Race, Brian Hoskins, Nico Tessini, and David Stoops rounding out the field. We've got almost the entire field waiting for an interview, so we better get on with it. Ryan Merriam, first of all, the race winner today from Le Mans. Ryan, congratulations. A dominant victory in the end, but it wasn't like that in the first half an hour. What do you think that race would have looked like with you and Tim at the front battling away? How confident were you that you could win anyway at that first pit stop stage when you both came in together?
Hey guys, it would have been a really good battle for sure. It's a real shame what happened. It looks like, I don't know if it was a bug or just this. This looks like he didn't put fuel in his car, and it was pretty much over for him from there. Yeah, I think we would have battled the whole way. Probably stayed within a second of each other. It's hard to really, when you got equal pace like that, it's hard to pull away on this track. So I think it would have came down to literally who saved the most fuel for the last stop and who got out quicker. And yeah, it's a shame to happen to him, though.
Yeah, it was a shame, as I say, not to have that battle in the end. But you take home the victory now, and it's 3 victories in the last 5 races, along with 2 in a row now. Just how pleased are you now that we're at the end of the first half of the season to have gotten through this half with obviously 1 race dropped, so this didn't go so well the opening round at Spa, but since then you finished either first or second in each race. How pleased are you with that as a start to the season?
Yeah, can't really ask for anything more, really. Very happy, and just gonna keep on doing, putting the practice in, and hoping that pays off in the race. I'm worried my work schedule's changing a bit, so worried I might miss a few. I know I'm gonna miss at least 1. Hopefully, I don't miss 2, because that'll really, that's probably it for me. But hopefully not, and we can battle it to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hope to see you as many rounds of the remaining season as we can. But for now, Ryan, congrats tonight. And hopefully we'll see you again next week at Bathurst.
Yeah, I should be there for that one. That's one of my favorite tracks, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks so much, Ryan Merriam, winner tonight from Le Mans here in the OGRL Coffee Cup. I'm going to keep accidentally saying tonight because it is dark now in the sim. Jonathan Williams wins in the Pro-Am class. Meantime, we'll chat to him too. Jonathan, welcome in. Congratulations on taking the victory in the AM class, Pro-Am class rather here today. The reason I'm getting confused is because you were with the Am leader for so long. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It was a close race in Pro-Am today, but how did you get home with the race victory? What was the key moments for you?
A ton of practice and 0 slowdowns. That's the key.
We did see a lot of slowdowns actually down the field, not from yourself, obviously, but how easy were they, just to give us an idea, how easy were they to pick up round here?
Yeah, a blink of an eye, you can catch one. I mean, it takes just a small fractional margin. There's at least 3 or 4 times that I was looking up, waiting to see if I got the 1 second penalty.
And this is your first win of the season. Great way to round off, class win that is. Great way to round off the first 6 races, which I believe is going to give you the championship lead as well after 6 races. Just how pleased are you with the start of the season that you've had?
I'm extremely pleased. Minus the mishap last week, I was pretty fast there. Got hung up in a wreck at the beginning and just had a broken car the whole race. But I'm extremely happy, and I want to thank everybody and Alan for really helping me get up to speed.
Well, congratulations on winning here from Le Mans today, Jonathan, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Jonathan Williams, the winner in the Pro-Am class, ahead of Curtis Matthews, who wins in the Am class today. Curtis, congratulations on an Am victory that is unparalleled in terms of its dominance, I think, throughout the seasons, certainly, or races that I've covered at OGRL Coffee Cup in the recent seasons. Just how were you feeling coming into this race? Was this a dominant performance that you could have even expected?
So I've been practicing a lot this week. Ryan Marion has been a great coach for me. He's been helping me a lot with everything leading up to this race. But honestly, I was not really hopeful because all practice throughout the week, I've been having issues with off tracks or slowdowns. And I think it was like it's like the really fast right-hander before you start hitting the couple chicanes towards the back stretch. I've been having a lot of issues with oversteer and losing it right there. So that was my biggest concern for today. But I was just very thankful that the car did what it needed to do. I love my Acura. You know, she was tried and true today. So no, it was a great race.
Yeah, and 2 wins in a row now as well for the Am class anyway. Just is this sort of a turning point in your season maybe that you can go on now for the next 6 races? Because today, as I say, was a really dominant performance, and obviously it comes off the back of a win last week as well.
Well, hopefully I can keep the momentum going. I've really been, like I said, focusing on the practices and not really doing too many officials. So...
well, congratulations on taking the Am class, Curtis, and thanks for coming to chat to us at the end of the race as well.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, great broadcast. Can't wait to watch it.
Thanks very much. Curtis Matthews, the winner in the Am class here today from Le Mans. Let's go back to pros and do some of the others who are waiting from the top class. Start with Hayden Young, who finishes 2nd overall here today from Le Mans. Hayden, welcome in. Congratulations on a 2nd place finish here today from Le Mans. How did you find that race there? Eventually seeing off Aaron Gearing and Stefan Bauer there. You were in a group for a little while, but that final pit stop was enough to see you get a gap that in the end you could get home with. Just tell us about that race and that battle for 2nd especially.
Yeah. I just on the first pit stop I changed my tyres. Chose to change the tyres and then go for the whole race without changing with them for the next stop, and I think that's how I got I'm not sure if he changed on the last stop there, but I just be able to save the fuel behind him. I sat behind him for a while. I could have. I think we're about the same pace, so I just sat behind him, saved the fuel, and got the 2nd. Quite happy with that. Sweaty one.
Yeah, well, I can certainly imagine that because it's an hour and a half race. I mean, we normally do hour races and so on. I know you would have done long races, long stints indeed in the past. But how different is it to a 90-minute race, adding on to an hour race when in this series, because it's not the norm to do this distance.
No. I mean, I'm used to it. I like the longer stuff. To be honest with you, I love the 24 hours and the stuff like that. and triples and stuff. So it's not that's hard. It's the more what you're going to do with the tires, what you're going to do with the fuel. It's that I like that. I like the strategy side of that. So me personally, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's certainly a different challenge. I gotta say, it feels like more than half an hour longer than it normally is. But,
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
That's the weirdness of time, I suppose.
Yeah.
Congratulations on getting to second here tonight, Hayden, and
Cheers,
thanks for chatting to us at the end of the race as well.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks so much. Hayden Young, second place in the end, in front of Aaron Gearing, I think it was, in third. We'll just bring in now as well. Aaron, welcome in. Congratulations on another podium here today. That's the third in a row for you here this season. Couldn't quite get to Hayden Young and pass him towards the end there, but were you really hanging your hopes on that in the last stint there, or did you realise with the pit strategy going the way it was that maybe third was the limit?
15 seconds of slowdowns. Very frustrated today. Very frustrated. Should have been much further up the road. So, yeah. Happy with the podium, but frustrated in my own race. So, we're all good.
And that's the first half of the season complete. Admittedly, you're frustrated with tonight, but that's now 3 podiums in a row, as I say, and a good end to that first half of the season. Feeling like, or it seems to me, in terms of results anyway, you're on an upward trajectory with that. How would you assess the first half of the season? Would that be an accurate reflection?
Yeah. First half of the season has been good. Happy with the podium, just frustrated in myself that didn't execute today's race very well. But yeah, onwards and upwards. We'll see if, hopefully I won't have any dropped races. So we'll see where those results can land us up at the end of the season. That's where the prizes are given out, right?
Yeah, well, indeed. We'll see what happens when we get there 6 weeks' time. Congrats on a third place finish today, Aaron, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks so much. Aaron Gearing, third place here from Le Mans in the pros. And the last pro driver waiting for us, I'll just finish off with, is Demi Hovden, who finishes here in this race in the midfield. Demi, welcome in. Congratulations on a good run back through the field, but I'm sure you wouldn't have wanted to have made quite as many overtakes as you ended up making in this race. You were telling us beforehand you didn't have very much practice at all before this race, so how did that affect you in this one?
The thing is, I forgot about this race completely. I came back from lunch, and I was scrolling on my phone, and I just saw the time that this session is closing in 5 minutes, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna race." But I gave you a promise that I'll be here last week, so I hopped on, got a gigabyte of an update, and just like straight into qualifying. How did it affect me? Fact is, I didn't even think about this track for a good year. So no laps, nothing. Didn't cross my mind even once. But I just turned on the music and just tried to relax as much and just do from the feel and from the memory. I made a ton of off tracks, like the 1 second slowdowns, because this track is just crazy with them. You can get them anywhere. So I think I got like 9 of them, so had to really like make up those times, but it was really fun. The Ford, it doesn't work here. The setup that I put on was pretty bad, so I had to put on like 2 extra notches of wing to not spin it into Porsche curves, so all of the Porsches were just blitzing me down the straights. And I was just making up all the time in the final sector. So it was a really, really like interesting driving dynamic and racing dynamic. But I pulled it off in the end somehow, a lot better than I thought it would be. But I'll take the P12 in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were noting that battle actually, and that does explain a lot about the straight line speed thing that was going on between you and some of the Porsches throughout that race, because I was very surprised to see that happening when it was. But as I say, that does explain a lot now. Now that we know that. In terms of coming through the field here today, just this circuit seems to be a pretty easy one for overtaking. To be honest, there's so many straights here that just gives you the chance, but was it that was the Mustang sort of holding you back in that sense in terms of straight line speed to actually make those moves quite as you normally would, or was it just you and the fact that you didn't have much experience here at Le Mans in recent times anyway?
It really did hold me back. There's a thing about a Ford. The brakes don't really work. It's a really difficult car to race, and I did make contact with John Gardner in the opening laps, which I sincerely apologize for. So it was just like stay back. You know, if you see a gap, you gotta go for it. But the way you race the Ford is in the fast sweepers. So I would be really quicker than the Porsches in the Porsche curves. You know, really, ironic. And it would be just enough to pull alongside them into the final chicanes, and that's where I would make my moves. But rest of the track, it was a battle to survive.
Well, congratulations on surviving and coming through the field so well with no practice, Damien. And thanks for chatting to us and keeping to your promise of actually turning up here this afternoon. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
Thanks very much, Darren Hovden, promising again to see us next week in the OGRL Coffee Cup. So, so there you go. We'll be seeing him again. Let's go to some of the other classes now, and those who finished not in the in victory lane in those classes. Starting with Heath Ollinger, who finishes second place in the Prime class here today. Heath, welcome in. Good to have you with us. First question, because I'm curious, what was going on between yourself and Curtis Matthews towards the line there?
Oh, not a lot. We had we've been running together up there, and Curtis and I plan to kind of do a Ford versus Ferrari finish line there, and then flash the lights kind of together going across the line. So all good fun. Him and I are teammates, and we have a good time racing with each other. And I meant to hit my flashing the lights, and I hit the pit limiter instead. So then he goes flying by and then takes me out. So all good.
I just thought it looked a bit strange, but there you go. Now you explain. It's all good. How was the actual race in Prime today? It was a really topsy-turvy race in Prime because you gained a lot of places from pro drivers who fell back, and then some of you, although you didn't really, but some of them got overtaken again a little bit later. You had the AM leader, Curtis, with you pretty much the whole time there as well. Did it feel like a strange race from your perspective, or just sort of a calm one where you were running in second and it looked like you were going to finish there for a little while before the finish there as well?
Yeah, it was, I don't know if it was strange. It was kind of, after the first several laps, we were all, the first several laps, we were all kind of in a train there, like 5 or 6 cars. And once that broke up, it was just really kind of just racing, staying clean. And then did notice that Jonathan, who won Pro-Am, he had a lot of pace, so he was gone. Wasn't catching him. And then the other folks in class, I think they had to pit a third time for fuel. I think maybe some of these cars have just a little extra capacity that got us not having to do that.
Well, congratulations on finishing second in Prime here from Le Mans today, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks so much. Heath Ollinger finishing in second place in Prime. And in the AM class today, Scott Carlson finishes in third place and can join us finally as well. Scott, sorry for keeping you waiting. We've got a lot of people to get through, but thanks for hanging on and chatting to us at the end here from Le Mans today. Third place for yourself in AM, although Curtis Matthews is so far in front of you. I'd imagine at some points it felt like sort of you were fighting for second and at some times, but that's what it looked like to me. But how was the race generally back in the AM class?
It was fun back in the back. I had to let off a little bit when JT spun in front of me coming around the corner. He was right in my racing line. Had a really good run, and I had to let off, and it grabbed too much, spun me around. I scraped the front, so I was right at the pits. I figured, hey, I'll take my quick fix, and I'll gas up a little bit there. That helped me, I think, when I passed John Gardner in the pits. Actually, we both came in. I ended up taking tires. I wasn't going to, but I beat him out of the pits somehow, and I took that place, and then I started catching up. I could have had second, not 8th place overall, but Curtis is quick, really quick. But first podium in the Coffee Cup, I'm not complaining. That's it's good. It's real good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you haven't been at every round so far this season, but this is by far your best result of the season as well.
Yeah.
Is it
Yep.
one you can build on for the second half of the season? Are we going to be seeing you often in the second half? Hopefully, building on these results.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, this season started a little rough. I had a new puppy, I had to take the puppy classes, so that was on Sunday mornings. That took away, I think, 4 out of the first 6 races. But I'm back. I got rescheduled for Wednesdays, and that's good stuff there. But yeah, I think today I was racing. I put a new paint scheme on. My wife is a college professor, and she teaches early childhood education at Harcum College. So I put together a little paint job for her and her class. They're doing a series right now on Pete the Cat. So that's who's on the car. That's who I was racing for today. My wife's class.
Very nice, and well done on taking it to third place here in the
Yes,
AM
sir.
class here today from Le Mans. And thanks for chatting to us at the.
I
at the end
appreciate
of the
you
day as
guys.
well.
You guys are awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. That's Scott Carlson, third place in the AM class from Le Mans today. Well, Tristan, that's just about it from us from the OGRL Coffee Cup at Le Mans. It is a much longer day when you don't have an hour-long race, but instead 90 minutes here from Le Mans. And yes, the field does get spread out quite a lot, but there's plenty of chances for overtaking. We even saw it late on in the race there, with a few battles further down the field, but out front, I mean, complete domination from Ryan Merriam. Third race victory in the last 5, rather, after having a bad first round. He's finished in the top 2 ever since. The others are going to have to go away and think about how they're going to beat him in the second half of the season, because at the moment he's looking very, very dominant out front.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I mean, like you mentioned, a great 90-minute race. We've obviously got one more lined up. The finale of the season at Nürburgring Combine. That's the Nordschleife and the GP circuit. So super excited to see that one. And then we've obviously got Bathurst next week. The good old mountain climber in the Down Under. And that's also a great circuit to watch some GT racing. In my opinion, actually one of my favorites to drive and race on as well. So excited for next week. The drivers really did prove themselves today. We commonly refer to De La Sarthe as the circuit that kind of spans out towards the end, but it was great to see that we had such frequent battles coming down towards the line.
Well, yeah, so that's just about it from us here from the OGRL Coffee Cup here today. Reminder, of course, to thank our sponsors here for this series. And indeed, our channel sponsor as well, Digital Race Engineer. You can check them out in the description of our broadcast here, and the Roasted Record as well, who help us out too. Big thanks to all the admin team, as always, from OGRL for keeping us up to date with everything going on, and indeed running the league as well, that we have the pleasure of broadcasting on Sunday mornings / afternoons if you're in other parts of the world. And thanks to everyone tuning in as well over the course of today. 90 minutes from Le Mans. It's been a long race, that's for sure, but a good one as well. And we will have another 90-minute race to end the season as well at the Nürburgring Combined Layout. That's on 22nd of March. Between then and now, we're live every week, same time, same place on Motormouth Broadcasting with the OGRL Coffee Cup. So make sure you tune in for all of those. Coming to you live from Bathurst next week. We'll be back same time, same place. So hope to see you back then. For now, I've been Leary alongside Tristan Herbston, Jim Cunningham behind the broadcast cameras here at Motormouth Broadcasting. We'll all see you again in 1 week's time from Bathurst. From all of us from Le Mans, it's goodbye.